Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And today we'll be your tour guides for our hot take of Season 2 of Jon Favreau's Sushi Western space opera, The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I love this show. It's been my only show that I've watched the day of release religiously in recent memory.
Oh, really? This is it? This is the only one that's got like on your I've got to watch day and date?
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about it online after it comes out. And so we always watch it on Friday whenever it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's... we participate in a couple of group chats, and I did kind of try to hold back some of my more salient observations so we could have in the moment, reactions on them.
Yeah.
And then that was all for naught because we lost the entire episode. This is a re-recording.
Yeah, we recorded about 3 hours of content on this topic, and I was using Audacity as our recording software, which is a free open source software app that is very, very popular, but it's also a little bit buggy, a little bit quirky, and something went a little bit weird, and my files were corrupted. And this isn't the first time it's happened.
Yeah, you may have noticed a little ADR that we have plugged in on some episodes. That's because, bits and bobs would drop out and we'd have to punch in new audio. So hopefully all those technical difficulties will be behind us now.
Yeah, so if you're curious, if you're an audio person, I did a bunch of looking online and I found a new program that was pretty purpose-built for what we're doing. Rather than getting a fully functional digital audio workstation like Reaper, Pro Tools, Logic, or something like that, I went with something that was super geared towards broadcasters. And in this case, it's Hindenburg Journalist. So that's what we're doing. This is our native voyage, I guess our maiden voyage.
Yeah,
I should say.
Excellent. Well, other than upgrading our audio setup, have you been up to anything?
Yeah, I have actually. I went and got a haircut. That's a huge deal these days.
Yeah, it's true.
It used to be something you squeeze into your schedule.
Is this a illicit haircut or is this a on the up and up haircut?
Well, my barber's a private barber who works out of his house. He has a dedicated barbershop room. So, I was wearing a mask the whole time. He wears a mask, a shield, and gloves the whole time.
That's over the top. I like that though.
Yeah, and he doesn't serve the public at all. It's just like a few people. So I don't feel weird about it at all. I know I was totally safe. It was also, it's weird when you get a haircut and like that's a social activity, because I'm friends with my barber. So it was awesome talking about stuff.
Yeah. And you're out of practice at some of these social activities
yeah,
now.
That's true. And I guess what I actually have been doing lately, aside from getting a haircut, is I've been tinkering with audio and video tools and toys and equipment. I've been working with some new microphones. I got a lavalier microphone. I've got a Yeti mic on order. I also have been messing around shooting some 4K video, and I just got a gimbal, a DJI gimbal.
Oh man.
It's pretty sweet. I don't really know how to use it really effectively yet. I've got some cat videos I've done for testing. But I've got a couple of projects in mind that I want to do, and one of which is, of course, to have some Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse live hot takes and stuff like that. Once the world begins, like when we went and did our thing for My Hero Academia, that was kind of a thing. There were a bunch of nerds there, and stuff. I would have liked to have had like a video hot take with people and ourselves.
Yeah, that was
fun.
Kind of originally our plan was to bring microphones to that and record an actual hot take before it sort of morphed into a whole episode thing.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some of that, and really that's been what I've been doing. How about you? What have you been up to?
I haven't been up to a whole lot. I guess what I've been doing is sort of re-listening to the whole MF Doom catalog. On New Year's Eve.
Rest in power.
Yeah, his wife went on social media and revealed that he had actually passed away back on Halloween.
Whoa.
And
that's like a long time.
Yeah.
To keep a secret.
He was always a sort of a reclusive character. And so it doesn't really surprise me that the family, stayed private for that long. But he was a rapper's rapper. He was a very influential artist in the world of hip hop, but not necessarily well known outside of like underground hip hop circles. Mm-hmm. And when those albums, like Operation Doomsday and Mad Villainy and stuff, when those were all new in the early 2000s, I listened to them a lot, and they had kind of maybe fallen by the wayside a little bit in my listening. So I brought them all back up and have been going through them kind of one by one. And yeah, he's gonna be missed in that world, and he kind of fits the show. He's sort of at that intersection of subculture and geek media. Yeah, definitely lots of Fantastic Four cartoon samples and Godzilla movies in his music.
Yeah, that's lame. I mean, but it happens. That's part of life. Is the ending of life. But hopefully his music can live on, and people can get into it posthumously.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah,
that's a little bit of a downer.
Yeah, I know. That's how I ended the last episode too, was with a list of all the people that died. But yeah. I guess since he died last year, he was like, we didn't know about it, so he had to get on posthumously.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move into our podcast fuel section. So Nick came in and he set down these cans here, and I thought he was giving me water.
Yeah, it's from Stillwater Artisanal is the name of the brewery. They're out of Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, so I thought it was literally still water because it doesn't say beer on it.
Yeah, you have to kind of look around. It says it caught my eye because it's got katakana Japanese writing on it. It says dry in Japanese. And this is a sake style saison. It's brewed with Citra, Hallard Trau Blanc, and Sterling hops. 4.2 ABV, and IBU is not listed. It's not particularly bitter. It might not actually score an IBU rating.
No, I think the interesting thing is because I drink, I wouldn't say I drink a lot of quantity of sake, but I taste a lot of different sakes.
Yeah.
My wife being an enthusiast for that. And this, I can see the sake, the style. I can kind of taste it a little bit. And they brewed it with sake rice. It's a rice beer. Mm-hmm. But really, it does not taste like a saison, really.
No, there's just a hint of that farmhouse funk in the aftertaste. But it's clean. It's very clean. You could definitely pair this with sushi. It would go well.
Oh yeah, really well.
And you could pair this with a sushi western, which is why I picked it.
Yeah, this is a clean, dry beer for sure. It's not. It doesn't have like a really strong flavor. It's subtle.
Cool. Well, I think that covers our first segment. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get back to you with our hot take. Welcome back, divers. Before we go into a episode by episode hot take on this, why don't we do a little refresh of season 1?
Yeah, season 1 is where we learn about this whole cult that the Mando is in, and it's really mysterious. They're these Mandalorians who live in the sewer, and this guy is a bounty hunter.
Yeah, they're called a covert.
Yes.
Since the purge of Mandalore, all the surviving Mandalorians exist in coverts.
And this particular guy, Din Djarin, is a bounty hunter, and he's working with the guild. And he's what's the name of the planet that they're on? It's not Talos.
No, I don't know. So we start out on some ice planet, and I don't recall which one that is. But the bulk of the first episode takes place on Navarro.
Yeah, but I guess not trying to get too deep into the weeds on season 1. This guy's a bounty hunter. He takes a job from a Imperial colonel. They're gnarly stormtroopers. He's going to get a bounty, which he then learns later is a child.
Yeah, he had very little information. It was supposed to be kind of an off the books sort of thing. Normally they have bounty pucks that have little holograms of the people, their target. And this one they just had like a tracking fob and the age of the target, which we were told is like 50 years old.
50, yeah. And he's getting paid in Beskar, so he really wants to do this job.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of stuff, thrown at us really quick in this show. Like we get introduced to Mandalorian coverts and the remnants of the Empire, Beskar Steel, a lot of stuff that if you weren't a deep nerd, you probably weren't aware of.
Yeah, pretty much. And he goes and gets the child in a daring adventure. There's a droid. They team up, and then things don't go so well. And ultimately, he ends up betraying the bounty giver because he himself was a foundling child, and he just can't see himself giving the child over to these guys and letting them do their heinous medical experiments on him.
Yeah, and so that just kind of takes us on an adventure across the galaxy where we met a lot of different side characters, and a lot of them show back up here in season 2.
It's ultimately a very formulaic thing where the armorer set him on a quest. You have to return this child to his people, and so Mando goes from place to place doing a task for someone who gives him a piece of information. He acts on the information, goes somewhere else, does a task, information, does a task, so on and so forth. But that's really kind of a way to boil it down. It was a super fun adventure series that felt really episodic and only vaguely serial.
Yeah, but it followed a similar pattern that I think this season 2 follows, where the first several episodes feel very disconnected, and then the back half of the season, each one leads into the next.
Yeah, they really wrap it together.
Yeah, and so season 1, at the end, we are introduced to our big bad, Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito, and at the very end of season 1, we see the reveal that he actually possesses the dark saber.
The dark saber. He cuts himself out of a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And I mean, that pretty much ends the season where we have Mando still hunting for the child's people. And at this point, he's seeking his own kind for help because he's basically run into a lot of dead ends. So he is just looking for other Mandalorians. And so we get into Chapter 9, The Marshal. The synopsis is, the Mandalorian is drawn to the Outer Rim in search of others of his kind.
Yeah, so this is our first episode of the season. It's directed by Jon Favreau, who's the showrunner. And we drop in on I'm not clear on what planet it is at the beginning, but it's a very gangster planet.
Yeah, it's really gnarly, and you get this really sweet opening shot of Mando walking towards you with the floating bassinet. It's very Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah, definitely.
And the place is just covered in graffiti, and there's just so many Easter eggs in that graffiti.
Yeah, the graffiti is really cool. It's done by an artist named David Cho, who actually cameos in this episode.
Is he one of the Gamorreans?
He's not one of the Gamorreans. He has some like alien prosthetics, that kind of like horns on his face.
Oh, okay.
But he's just one of the people in the crowd in this underground fight club that we go to.
Yeah. So Mando goes to this little underground gladiatorial pit, and there are Gamorreans in the ring fighting with these axes. And it occurred to me, they're green skinned, pig faced, fight with axes. These are orcs. These are Nick's people.
I had almost the exact same thought, like, because that first edition monster manual, the original illustration of orcs they do have pig faces.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's a lot of connective tissue between orcs and Gamorreans for sure.
I've always been way more into bugbears than orcs. I don't know why. I just liked the art better as a kid, I think. And I always thought gnolls were really the shit, like the kind of jackal dudes.
Oh, gnolls are pretty sweet. Yeah.
In 5th edition, they made them kind of an infernally tainted race. And I don't really like that change.
Well, haven't they... Well, let's not go off on a D&D tangent, but isn't that sort of done with, that there's no evil aligned races anymore?
There are no evil aligned humanoids because every humanoid has free will. But there are monstrously tainted things that are inherently evil, and I think that's why they did it, so gnolls can stay evil because they have infernal heritage or some nonsense like that. Anyway, if you ever play D&D with me, gnolls are regular humanoids.
So anyways, the Mando is here to meet a contact. He's kind of a Cyclops Don Corleone, played by John Leguizamo.
And we know he's a bad guy because he's a Cyclops.
I know, that's so racist too.
Every Cyclops is a dick. There are no nice ones.
There's no nice Cyclops. Well, what about Leela on Futurama?
I'm talking about Star Wars Cyclops.
Okay.
Or does Futurama happen in the Star Wars universe?
No. It might take place in the Simpsons universe.
Star Wars takes place in the Rick and Morty universe. Man, we should do a show on Rick and Morty.
Oh, maybe. But I love Rick and Morty, but that's a terrible fan base that I don't know if I want to get involved in.
That's true. All right, so... basically, he's talking to this guy, and he's saying, "Hey, where's Mando at?" And the guy, basically just mustache twirling evil guy, is like, "Ha ha! I lured you here. Now give me your armor, or we take you out of it." Like he's just total douche.
Yeah,
and he has a bunch of guys pull guns on him.
And if you've been following along, Beskar steel is impenetrable, and since they want to steal his Beskar steel. Shouldn't they know that? Shouldn't
they have like 10 guys dogpile him so he can't move and just start peeling pieces off of him?
Yeah, something. But they always try to shoot him or fist fight him, which is not going to go your way.
Break your hand, bullets bounce off, or blaster shots bounce off. Anyway, he fights his way out of it as you would expect. And I love how he gets the information from the guy, and he promises he won't
die by his hand.
He won't die by his hand, but he hangs him up in the night, and those predator beasts come out.
Yeah, as he leaves, and it's it reminded me of the end of the first Mad Max movie where he leaves that guy chained up and then gives him a hacksaw, and then like the car's on fire, so he has to either try and saw through the chain or saw through his leg, but he doesn't have the time to saw through the chain. It was a very much a scenario like that. He's hung the guy up, and I'm not going to kill you, but you're probably going to die.
Yeah, and I mean that was an awesome scene. I loved it. It was very dark, and so Mando gets this information, and so then he goes and he meets Carla from Cheers.
He goes back to he finds out
Tatooine.
There's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. He goes back and we meet up with Peli Motto, played by Amy Sedaris,
who looks like Carla from Cheers and acts like her too.
I mean, similar enough that I understood what you meant, but it's not. I wouldn't necessarily make that comparison.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, he talks to her. They have some shenanigans. She coos over the baby. And,
she's
agrees to watch him.
She's a returning character from season 1, and she loves the baby. So she's sort of become a trusted ally. And he borrows a speeder bike from her and takes off into the desert.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's nice when Boba can get, or I'm sorry, when Mando.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it's nice when Mando can get a babysitter because then he can go off and do rad stuff.
Yeah, and not worry about the little infant that he's endangering.
Yeah, constantly. He's bad dad. But really, I think that the child is older than Din Djarin.
Oh, easily. Yeah, probably 20 years or so.
Yeah.
Or, at least 10 years older than him.
So more like he's like the little brother. Anyway, so he goes off and he's speeding across the desert in a chopped speeder bike.
I love the chopped speeder bike.
So awesome.
Yeah, total
he's
Easy
like
Rider
leaning
vibes.
back. Yeah, I was loving that scene. I wanted that bike. And he stops and he meets up with some sand people. He has fire. He's talking to them. And, we already knew from season 1 that he speaks their language, I think.
Or at least in season, you never heard him speak it in season 1, but he did the hand signs.
Yeah, he's cool with sand people.
Yeah.
And they seem to be cool with him because I guess he knows what to say.
Yeah, and I like that. I like, as I alluded to earlier, I like humanizing monsters.
Yeah.
So the sand people were always treated like they were monsters, and
they're just people.
Yeah, they're just another humanoid race making their way out in an unforgiving land.
For sure. And so he gets to this little tiny windswept western moss town,
Mos Pelgo,
and it's just crappy. It's obviously a very independent kind of frontier town
on a frontier planet. It's like it's off the radar on a planet that's off the radar.
Yeah, it's like you probably wouldn't want to go there.
No, it's not. But it's a mining town, right? That's what they.
Yeah,
that's what they say. It's
something like that. They have some sort of blue collar thing where they're gathering resources. And he's asking around. He's like, asked the bartender, I'm looking for someone who looks like me. And bartender's like, oh, you mean the marshal?
Yeah. And the bartender is one of Jabba's skiff guards.
Same race as him.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, it's what I forget what they say his name, or maybe they just refer to him as his race. But I get the impression that he's sort of flown the coop from the
Jabba,
Hut, from the Hut operation.
And then you're sitting there watching it, and you're looking out the door as the camera shot, and then you see a Mandalorian step into frame, and he's wearing battered green armor.
Yeah, it wasn't until he actually walks in the bar and I saw the dent on the helmet that I realized that was Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah, for me it was the color that was a dead giveaway, kind of that military green.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's Boba Fett. But no, that can't be Boba Fett. He's like really thin and pretty small.
Yeah. He kind of cowboy swaggers into the bar, and he's talking with Mando, and he sits down, orders some drinks, and then
takes off his helmet.
And it's Timothy Oliphant.
Oh yeah, it's Sheriff Bullock from Deadwood. It's literally Timothy Oliphant playing his same cowboy character he always plays, which I love.
Yeah, it's Deadwood, Justified. He's a bit typecast,
which is great because it's a great character. And so they're talking, and of course Mando's like, "Okay, give me the armor. You don't deserve it," immediately because he took the helmet off.
Yeah, and as far as he knows, we if you follow Star Wars, you know different. But as far as he knows, Mandalorians are not allowed to take the helmet off ever.
Yeah, like if you watched the cartoons or anything like that, you know that Bo-Katan takes her helmet off all the time.
Yeah, constantly. When you're just talking to someone, you take the helmet off.
Yeah. And so basically the marshal is like, no. And so then they're going to draw down on each other, and then they're interrupted by a crate dragon attacking the town. Yeah, the crate dragon swims through the town like a land shark and eats a bantha, and kind of sets up what the conflict of the episode is going to be. Yeah, that's sort of like a force of nature. Yeah. The marshal, Cobb Vanth, he agrees he'll give up the armor if Mando helps him kill the dragon. Yeah, and he gets the story. He tells the story of how he got it, and he'd run off and he'd got rescued by some Jawas, and the thing that he took when he'd run off was a little, like a case filled with this resource, some sort of, it was crystals. Yeah, that the Jawas really valued, and so they saved him, and he got to demand a price, and he demanded the armor. Yeah, so he bought it. It struck me because some time ago the artist Coop had tweeted out that before the Mandalorian had started, that the version of the show that he wanted was about a guy on Tatooine that found Boba Fett's armor and then was trying to live up to the armor. And it struck me that they kind of bit that plot from that tweet. Maybe. I mean, I would love it if they did a comic book series or something of this guy, his story. It would be really cool.
I would be very surprised if he doesn't show up in that Rangers of the New Republic show.
No Mando armor, though.
Yeah, that's true. But he doesn't need it. He's a space cowboy.
That is true. He's a dead eye and a cool, cool hand.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, this the rest of the episode kind of writes itself. He says you got to help me kill the crate dragon, and then I'll give you the armor. And so Mando gets the Sand People to help because they hate the crate dragon too.
Yeah.
And so they all team up. There's some friction between the villagers and the Sand People
because the Tusken Raiders raid their villages.
They prefer to be called Sand People.
I don't know if that's true.
That's probably not true. Anyway, so they end up having this really cool scene where they're like baiting the crate dragon, trying to get it to swallow a bantha covered in bombs, and they end up getting some sweet jetpack action where you get both of them doing the combat thing, and it's a really great kind of climax. But the whole story of the show is in the first third.
Yeah. So did you know that creature, the crate dragon, before you watched this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I played the Star Wars Galaxies MMO. I've killed hundreds of crate dragons.
Oh, so you know
myself.
You already knew about the coveted pearl.
Yeah, the pearl, the tissue. No, and you cannot solo a crate dragon. You have to bring a whole team.
Just like the show.
Just like the show. I played a bounty hunter, so I was a shooter, but we had some people who would get down there and tank it and get heals, and it was crazy. It's an MMO game.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I knew all about crate dragons. There are also a lot of other things in the Star Wars universe that can be great monsters. I mean, Rancors from Jabba's palace, but that was a little Rancor. If you actually go to Dathomir and you fight like wild Rancors,
they get bigger than that.
It's on like Donkey Kong. Yeah.
Oh man. And I thought because the crate dragon, there's a skeleton in A New Hope. That's kind of how they got their sort of mythic status, is from that very first movie. But researching them, I found the pearl is really interesting because that pearl can be refined down and used in place of a kyber crystal.
Yeah, you can use those in lightsabers, and that was a thing in the game too.
That's very cool. But anyways, they slew the crate dragon, and where do we go from here? What information did Mandalorian get in this episode?
So basically,
oh, I remember.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, he gets back to the babysitter, and she hooks him up with another job.
Yeah, because he struck out. That was a fail. So he's basically just going back to get the kid. And she's like, "Oh yeah, there's a guy over there who knows about Mandalorians."
Yeah, and it ends up it wasn't a guy. It's a frog lady.
Oh yeah.
But we'll get more into let's cover that actually in the next episode.
Yeah, chapter 10, The Passenger.
But before our postscript on this episode, chapter 9, was we see our first glimpse of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, that's true. You see a scarred Polynesian man who looks like he's probably about 60, and he's got a gaffy stick and a rifle. And he seems very interested in what's going on.
Yeah, and you recognize him if you are a Star Wars fan. You recognize that as Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett and is the basis for all of the clones.
All of the clones, yeah. Yeah, and so we see him, and I was like, when I first saw this, I was like, was that Boba Fett? That had to be Boba Fett. And so I started Googling, and of course that was Boba Fett. And so, I mean, that comes back. It comes back around, obviously. They're not just going to do that once and then call it a day. There's no way. And so chapter 10, The Passenger. The Mandalorian must ferry a passenger with precious cargo on a risky journey. Now, this episode was really basic. It really had just kind of a 1, 2, 3 plot.
Yeah, it's real simple. This one's directed by Peyton Reed, who directed the Ant-Man movies.
Oh.
And so Amy Sedaris' character, Pelemoto, hooks Mando up with the frog lady, and she needs to get this bucket of eggs to another planet in the same system. But the hitch is they can't go to light speed because the eggs are too delicate. And traveling sublight speed is very dangerous. So Mando doesn't want to do it. But she assures him she knows about another Mandalorian, or her husband knows about another Mandalorian covert.
Like, he totally is willing to put himself at risk for like some hearsay.
I know. It's like, you need... Can we call him before we go? Get a little more reassurance in that. But.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so they get in the ship, and it's crazy the decisions they made with the character, because they have the child just start eating her eggs.
Yeah, this is the episode that Baby Yoda got canceled.
Yeah, everyone was like turning on him, and I'm just like, oh, come on.
It is serious. I don't want to downplay this because she goes into details because this is her last brood and it's the end of her line. This is her last chance to reproduce.
Yeah.
But they are unfertilized eggs. It's not like...
Yeah, it's like eating chicken eggs. They're not fertilized. They're just...
Yeah. So it's bad, but he's a baby. And yeah, I mean, the internet may have overreacted for the first time
ever.
They
were like, Star Wars endorses genocide. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah, there's been way worse genocides in Star Wars.
Yeah. It started off with Alderaan.
Yeah. I know. Anakin slaughtered all those sand people, and we just found out they're pretty cool dudes.
Even the younglings. Yeah, this is nothing in Star Wars. And so they just get going, and then they get hassled by the cops. The Republic cops start bothering him about his transponder signal.
Yeah, so now we're introduced to this. The New Republic is trying to exert authority in the Outer Rim, and now you've got X-Wing patrols out there. I was bummed out for Mando to get hassled by the Fuzz, but I was really glad to see Paul Sun Hyung Lee from Kim's Convenience show up.
I wanted him to do it in character.
Oh, I know. It's sort of a joke. Every time he leaves the scene when me and Lisa are watching, we always go, okay, Shiyu. But he never says it.
Yes, because he plays a Korean American or a Korean immigrant.
Korean Canadian.
Yeah, you're right. It's not even American.
Yeah.
A Korean Canadian guy in Kim's Convenience with a super strong accent. But in this, he has no accent. He just sounds like a Canadian dude.
And he wants a certain signal from the Mandalorian, who does not want to give out his information. He says he's pre-Empire, and so he's not required to.
Yeah, and they're basically like, well, new rules.
Yeah.
You are. And so they hassle him, and in the end, he's just like, nah. And he has like a sweet flying scene where X-Wings are chasing down the Razor Crest.
Yeah, the jig is up when they go into the X-Wing mode. The wings separate. And the Razor Crest makes him a person of interest in a certain jailbreak from season 1.
Yeah.
So they have a reason to go after him, but he's not sticking around to talk to them.
And it was pretty cool because the way the Razor Crest kind of dipped into the atmosphere and the way it's kind of shaped and it moved, it really felt like Serenity. It seemed like a scene out of Firefly.
Yeah.
The way the ship moves. I liked that.
The Serenity has two big thrusters on the sides like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of has the nacelles or whatever, the engines. I don't know, but it was just cool, and I enjoyed that, and I thought this is fun, and I just wanted him to blow those Republic guys out of the sky because I'm all Outer Rim. Like if I had to choose, I go Outer Rim.
Yeah,
as my team.
Strict libertarian. You don't want the Empire or the New Republic.
Well, both of them are bad. It's just what government you live under. Just like they say in a later episode,
Yeah.
So he ends up crashing his ship on this ice planet because in Star Wars there are really only 3 biomes, which is jungle, Arctic, and desert.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so he crashes.
Oh, there's Naboo. You also have.
There's Naboo and Yavin 4 and all those.
There's like a handful of temperate planets that have.
Not many. Those are like Goldilocks planets. So anyway, he crashes it in this cave and falls through the ice into these caves, and he's tinkering with his ship, and next thing you know, he can't find Frog Lady.
Yeah, so the Frog Lady, I guess, senses hot springs or something.
And she's freezing.
Yeah, and she goes off to have a little soak in the onsen.
Yeah, and so he like tracks her down with his thermal vision and his helmet, and he takes Grogu with him. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed that up.
You're jumping ahead.
Takes the child with him, and he finds her soaking in an onsen, and Baby Yoda is like, I'm still hungry, but there's these little nodule things on the ground. Yeah, I'm gonna tinker with it.
That freaking kid loves eggs, and he sees a bunch of alien pods all over this cave, and just goes over, starts chowing down on like alien facehugger pods.
And he eats it. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And then more open up. And it's the typical, it's like, and then there's a bigger one. And then there's a bigger one. You know, and this is it transforms into an Arctic version of Harry Potter with the spiders, or the Hobbit with the spiders, or Shelob's Lair once they discovered the Big Daddy spider, the Big Mama spider, I should say. Yeah, and they're chasing the three, and they're heading back for the ship. And I'm thinking to myself, your ship is screwed and broken. There's no shelter there.
Yeah, for sure. There are. I want to just. The spider's based on an unused Ralph McQuarrie concept art from Empire Strikes Back.
And were they supposed to be on Hoth?
Oh, they're supposed to be on Dagobah.
Oh, okay, Dagobah.
And it's I love, Ralph McQuarrie did so many concept illustrations that didn't get used in the original trilogy, that those creatures and buildings and stuff are still showing up and things. Oh, so yeah. I really love that. But yeah, this has turned into a whole James Cameron Aliens movie.
And I don't hate it.
No, it's fun.
I think it's a little bit... there were some episodes in season 1 that were like this, to where the entire episode could be removed from the series and it wouldn't really change the meta plot.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any episode this season that you could do that with, it's probably this one.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was almost that way too, but the first few are kind of almost out of, actually I think maybe only episode 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get in there, and I love it when he finally uses the flamethrower. I'm like, you only have one area of effect weapon.
Yeah.
Use it.
And that's how you roast bugs, is with the flamethrower. But they're holed up in the cabin of the Razor Crest, and the big spider comes down and is gonna break in through the windshield, and the X-wing pilots come back and save the day.
Yeah, they save the day and then say they won't help him.
Yeah, well, actually, and I just remembered a detail. Because he had officially lost them, right? He had turned everything off, and they had no idea where he was. In the hectic scramble there, you notice that he flips the transponder back on.
Yeah, and so that's how they find him.
That's how they found him. Yeah, and they give him kind of a questioning about the prison break, because it's a weird deal that he participated in this prison break. But he ended up leaving 3 prisoners behind, and then led the New Republic to the prisoner that he helped escape. And so they're kind of trying to feel him out, like, what's your motivation? And they don't really know if Mando is a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah, he's clearly not on the side of the law, but he kind of did a good thing, So it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
And they're not sure what to think about him, so they don't help him.
Yeah, they don't help him, but they also don't arrest him. That's kind of the compromise.
I guess that is a help, sort of.
Yeah.
And so he's able to pressurize just the cockpit of the Razor Crest and fly it out of there. And they get to the planet, the destination. It's a water planet.
Yeah.
Where there's all these water people, the squids and the octopi,
the Mon Calamari and the Quarren. That brings us to chapter 11, the Heiress.
Well, and yeah, basically the frog woman's husband, frog man, says, "Oh yeah, there's dudes over there."
Yeah, well, he said that he knows how to get him in touch with another Mandalorian. Before we get the episode opens up with this whole homage to Apollo 13, the re-entry scene from that movie, because this is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who is Ron Howard's daughter, and Ron Howard directed Apollo 13.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little love note there.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, to your point, we reunite the two frog people so they can fertilize their eggs. And he tells Mando who to talk to get information about the other Mandalorians. And
he puts the Razor Crest in the shop.
Yeah, he has the Mon Calamari people. He gives them like 1,000 credits and is like, fix it up. And they're not optimistic about what they can do for it, but they're going to do their best. But he gets hooked up with a crew of like Quarren whalers or something.
And these guys are kind of like the Cyclops dudes. You know, if you're dealing with a Quarren, you're dealing with a dick. Yeah,
there's two races on Mon Calamari or on Mon Calamar, excuse me. One race is the Mon Calamari, like Admiral Akbar, good octopus people. And the other is the Quarren, who are bad squid people.
Evil squid folk.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're the Romulans and the Vulcans.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
And they act just like that. And so you know he's gonna get screwed. The guys are shady. They're like out on the high seas in the boat, and he's like, "You want to see the sea monster in the hold?"
Yeah, get in real close and look close at it.
I'll push you in the back. It's just like the thing is that I don't understand about Mando is, first of all, he seems to have nearly limitless funds for bribing people. And paying for ship repairs. Also, he seems to fall for every ridiculous ambush that the most amateur of criminal can set up, because he walks around with a, like just flaunting massive wealth.
Yeah. He really should at some point paint his armor and not just have the fully chromed out.
Yeah, so he looks like a ghetto Mandalorian, like he used to be, like with his red painted armor in season 1.
Yeah.
The first couple of episodes before he has any pieces of Beskar, he's just wearing this red painted plasteel or whatever. Plastoid. My bad. Plasteel is from Shadowrun.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Mando walks into the trap, gets knocked into the hold with the sea monster, but luckily there really was a covert of Mandalorians operating on this planet.
Yeah, it wasn't another dead end where he gets hoodwinked and screwed over.
Yeah, and so 3 Mandalorians show up, and if you watch Clone Wars and Rebels, you recognize these as the Night Owls.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. Like, I really like Bo-Katan's like armor paint scheme. It looks rad.
Yeah, she's instantly recognizable.
And they come down onto the ship with their jetpacks, and they just wreck house. And they rescue Mando and
rescue the baby,
and everything's good. And I mean,
and then they
go back to a bar, right?
No, they're talking. He's so excited to see some other Mandalorians, and they all take their helmets off.
Oh yeah. I thought that happened in the bar, but yeah, you're right. It happens on the deck of the ship, and he's like, "What?" Like he doesn't instantly demand that they give him their armor like he did with the Marshal.
Yeah, but he's upset about it, and they kind of all look at each other and like, "Oh, you're a child of the Watch." And so that implies...
put a name to his cult.
Yeah, which I wasn't aware that they're sort of an offshoot of Death Watch, like a more extreme form of a Mandalorian group called Death Watch, which is already pretty extreme.
But the thing is a child of the Watch. The way she said it, he could just be a member of Death Watch and not know it. It could be his cult could be Death Watch, and she's just calling it the Watch.
Yeah.
And he was a foundling, so he knows nothing about real Mandalorian culture. So a child of the Watch. It could be that.
Yeah.
It could also be that children of the Watch are their own cult. We just don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're definitely derived from Death Watch. Which has been kind of one of the only other, significant Mandalorian clans that we're aware of.
And it seems pretty cool that we actually now have real Mandalorians. And so first thing Din Djarin does is he Mando-splains to the heir apparent of Mandalore.
He's like, you may have grown up on Mandalore, but let me tell you something about our culture.
You may have fought in the wars and grown up there and lived your entire life with other Mandalorians, but I'm going to learn you.
Yeah. And he takes off. He takes the baby and flies off and leaves them there. And almost immediately gets bushwhacked by more Quarrens when he gets back to town.
Yeah, he lands in town and they're like, "You killed my brother."
I don't know.
How did you know?
How did they find out so fast?
Well, I mean, maybe if the guy's brother was like chatting with chatting with his brother on shore, he's like, "I've got a rube in full Beskar. I'm about to drown. Check this out." He's live streaming it, and then they drown him.
It went right up on Facebook Live. That could be.
I mean, they have spaceships. They probably have Facebook.
I don't know. Their computers are very analog.
That is true. And Earth had space flight before we had the internet.
That's also true. But anyways, the Night Owls save his ass yet again.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And this time he has to kind of listen to them.
And it seems like he kind of wants their approval, sort of, even though he doesn't approve of them, he likes them because he recognizes they are Mandalorians. He doesn't try to say you're not a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like their ways. It's kind of like he's an extremist zealot and he met some casuals of the same faith as him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Ooh, you guys are..."
We are a minority and I don't meet a lot of people from our culture at all.
Yeah.
But you're also sellouts in a way.
You're not doing it right. Yeah, and so he agrees to help them in exchange for information, because now he's on the trail of a Jedi. He's trying to find a Jedi.
Yeah.
And supposedly Bo-Katan
knows a Jedi.
Knows a Jedi. Mm-hmm. Actually, she knows more than one Jedi, doesn't she?
Yeah, but there's one that she is in contact with.
It's true.
I mean, she knew a lot of Jedi. Most of them are dead. Like Obi-Wan is dead. Like one of them.
She met Ezra, right? Like,
oh yeah, Bo-Katan would know Ezra, and
he's still around.
Theoretically, we don't.
Yeah, we don't fully know. Anyway, this is all stuff from cartoons.
Yeah.
So she knows where there's a Jedi, and she's like, "I'll tell you if you help us take over this Imperial frigate or whatever."
Yeah, the Imperials are moving a bunch of weapons, and we're going to steal the weapons.
Yeah, and so he does, and they do.
And the job goes from stealing the weapons to stealing the whole frigate.
Yeah, steal the whole ship. I love how they're fighting their way on, and like the Night Owls are just demolition. They're so good.
They're a well-oiled machine.
They're just these true, like, badass, heavily armored commandos, and they're just doing work.
And it's crazy that so there's all these like Mandalorian gadgets, right? Like they have their jetpacks and they have like their grappling wire thing, and
the little missiles
and the flamethrower. And the way watching the three of them work and use all of their little toys in tandem with each other, it is really impressive. And Mando is impressed with them.
Yeah, I love it near the end of the boarding scene when he grabs the grenades and charges forward through the line to impress the Mandalorian ladies. I mean, that's the impression I got.
Oh, and it's also the ship is going to jump to hyperspace from right there in atmosphere on the planet.
Yeah.
And so there's a bit of a timer because he doesn't want to leave the kid behind. So he wants to get the operation done. He doesn't have time to wait out the officers on the bridge.
Yeah, and basically the officer on the bridge, the head guy, he kills the pilots, and he's basically like, okay, this is the end of it, and they try to interrogate him, but he has like an electrical suicide tooth.
Yep, and zaps himself.
And then, and so then Bo-Katan's like, okay, now we got the ship. Now we retake Mandalore. And Din Djarin's like, you promised me something. She's like, oh yeah. I guess I do owe you information.
Yeah, and she's like, go see Ahsoka Tano. She's on this planet, and tell her Bo-Katan sent you. And, this is the way. See you later.
Yeah, later. Yeah, it was kind of like a little anticlimactic at the end there, but, that's cool. So I liked this episode mostly because I really liked the Night Owls. I really hope that there's a bunch of content for them in the future.
I suspect season 3 they will feature very heavily.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that Mando goes and joins up with them, or it'll have to get complicated because that's drama.
Yeah.
But he has a reason. They have a reason to keep interacting with him, and we'll discuss that when we get to the final chapter.
Yeah.
But that episode ends really tidy, just like it started, where he's like, "Oh, I have to go to this place."
Yeah.
And
now he has a new place he has to go, his ship is fixed.
It's literally held together with fishing line.
Yeah, it's fishing line. It's got cargo nets all over it. I don't see how any of that stuff makes it through the atmosphere when you leave and re-enter atmospheres. All that stuff should burn off. But
anyway, so we get to chapter 12, The Siege. The Mandalorian rejoins old allies for a new mission.
Yeah, so we're heading back to Navarro, which is the planet we basically started the show on.
And he meets up with Cara Dune first, and she's become a marshal in the Republic.
Yeah, so she's not. Is she? Oh yeah. She has a badge and everything. Yeah, so she's a marshal. This is an official title, and Carl Weathers, playing Grief Karga, has sort of become like the mayor of Navarro. It seems like, and Carl Weathers directed this episode.
He directed and starred. Yeah, and I like Cara Dune. I really like the character. I've been a fan of Gina Carano since her early days of MMA. I don't follow MMA like I used to, but I'm still a fan of hers, and I think she's pretty cool. There's a lot of drama surrounding her online and whatnot. Cancel Cara Dune or whatever. And I did a bunch of reading on that. Like, I read all the tweets. I'm just not into that. I don't think any offense has been committed that is so heinous that I can't just say you're being an idiot. Move on.
Yeah, I definitely am not a fan of some of the things that she says. She irritates me on social media.
Yeah, some people just have a bad online persona.
Yeah, and we have our opinions, and we have this platform, and sometimes we spout our opinions, and maybe you think we should shut up. So I don't want to tell her that she can't say what she wants to, although I wish she would not say it.
I wish she would say things I agree with.
Yeah. Why can't you be cooler?
Yeah. But, it's okay if someone says something I don't agree with. I don't think you should cancel someone for that.
Well, within limits.
Well, in this case, I don't think she has gone beyond the point where I can watch her shows.
I'm kind of I'm there with you. Yeah.
Yeah. She's just sort of a little bit dubious, but not too bad.
Anyways,
Nick nodded his head. It's really good radio.
Good radio. Yeah. I was like, yeah, basically. I don't feel like she started from such a place of goodwill that I've just taken her down to annoyance and not all the way to cancel.
And so anyway, he meets up with Cara and Grief, and they drop off the child in school.
Yeah.
And there's a sweet little scene where the kid next to him has like a tube of macarons, like these blue cookies, and we know Baby Yoda loves food.
Yeah.
And so he's like reaching out his hand, like, give me one. And the boy is like, leans in, makes meaningful eye contact, and says, no. And I just thought to myself, man, you're a dick. Who could be that stony in the face of a cute little kid when you have a whole tube of cookies?
Yeah, well, Navarro, maybe it's been a little gentrified, but Navarro's a tough town. This was previously like a bounty hunter hub. So
That's true.
They're fixing it up, but he's, this is the kid of some outer rim roughneck. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And so then the next...
They've got a good French bakery, though, because they've got macarons.
And so you cut to the next part where the boy looks down and his cookies are gone, and you see the child and he's got all of them and he's eating one.
He just totally force yoinked those macarons.
He's a force thief, which in that case it was forced justice.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. He didn't. If he didn't get canceled for the mild genocide from the previous episode, he won't get canceled for this.
Anyway, so yeah,
they're gonna fix up the Razor Crest for him free of charge.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna take your garbage ship and we're gonna make it factory new.
Yeah,
but you have to help us go and fight some things because you're a murder machine and now we need your services.
While you're waiting for us to fix your ship, there's just an Imperial base that we want to clear out.
Yeah, nothing big, no big deal.
MBD.
Yeah, it just seems like this seems ambitious to me. This seems overly ambitious. And so they hatched this ridiculous plan where they're going to, I don't know, like they're going to overload its reactors or whatever. And somehow they're going to get the fish guy accountant to go with them to do it. It's just like, this is kind of a ridiculous plan.
Well, he's going mainly as a chauffeur. He's the driver when they're heading out there. I'm cracking my second beer here. They're going to overload the reactors, and they're expecting this base is fairly lightly manned. They don't think it's like a full-on...
Because it's supposed to be a secret base, right? They're supposed to be doing some research there. It's like a science facility or something, but they just want it gone. They don't want any Imperial base there.
Yeah, because it's a spawn point. It's the place that the bad guys come from, and it'd just be better if you blew it up.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes perfect sense. So they go there and they're riding in a speeder, and there's some really good dialogue going on between Carl Weathers and Fish Guy.
Yeah, he's played by Horatio Sands, and this is actually he was the target in the very first episode that we saw Mando bring in.
Didn't he get frozen in carbonite?
Yeah, Mithril is the name of the character.
Well, I just call him Fish Guy, and he was pretty funny, honestly. And so then they press gang him into coming with them into the facility. Yeah,
which he doesn't want to do, but they need him to help with the computers and stuff.
Yeah, because he's their nerd.
Yeah. Grief Karga is always kind of extracting a little bit more from you. Like can you drive me here? Well, could you come in with me? Could you also push the shopping cart?
He is the Star Wars version of if you give a mouse a cookie.
Yeah. If you drive Karf Grieger to an Imperial base, he will expect you to help him assault it.
Yeah, anyway, so they go in and they're sneaking around because famously Imperial facilities have these bulkheads in the walls that are super easy to hide behind in every hallway.
I think it's because of the modular construction. Those are the joints, and so it's very standardized.
So they make it, and they get into the core area. It's just sort of skimming through, and it is so funny because there's no handrails on anything. There's no safety. There's not even really a spot to stand and use that maintenance terminal.
Yeah, I always say that when I'm watching any Star Wars thing. I said there's no OSHA in the Empire. There is no concern for the safety of Imperial troops.
Yeah, they're just going. If
you fall in the lava, you fall in the lava.
Yeah, there's more clones. We'll be fine. Anyway, so they set the thing, and then they set the thing to overload, and then they're going out, and at some point they go and they find information. Basically, they hack the emails, and they see a holo from the doctor, and this is a facility where they're researching the project for Moff Gideon, and the doctor uses the term M count.
Yeah, metachlorians.
He drops that bomb. I'd hoped that would just fade away into the prequels, never to be referenced again.
You know, I think they did a really good job of bringing in stuff from the prequels and incorporating it.
I would like to think that Star Wars consists of the 3 original movies, Rogue One, Mandalorian. That's all.
Yeah, there's other people that feel that way too.
That's really all I like.
Oh, Clone Wars is so good.
I just didn't like the first couple seasons because so much kid stuff.
I don't think you even made it out of the first season.
And I think I probably watched like 7 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, and they're like 22 at least episode seasons.
Yeah, so I didn't get very far. Anyway, this is one of those deals where they're running and gunning and leaving, and they find this information, and that's a clue.
Did you see the clone tanks?
Yeah.
Did you notice one of those clones looks a lot like Snoke?
Huh? No, I didn't.
Yeah, I kind of like. It's got like a big head with sort of like a bifurcation in it, and I just kind of wondered like if the cloning operation, because they're trying to make clones with high metachlorian counts.
Yeah, whatever species that Snoke was, maybe he also had it.
Yeah, possibly, or it might tie into the to the more recent Star Wars trilogy, because there's some clones in that too.
Oh yeah, there's clones and all sorts of crazy things in the newest ones. Anyway, so they circle back around to early stuff, but then they steal a car, a giant transport truck, and they jump it off of the cliff into the canyon. And I was just thinking to myself, there's no way that thing survives. And if it did, those people would just be chunky salsa inside.
You don't think they didn't have their seatbelts on?
Oh, man. The impact alone. Imagine the whiplash of your neck.
Well, it's because it lands on the speeder that they took there. And that cushions the fall.
100%.
Because that thing was floating too. It was already anti-graving. And so it was
basically like an elevator.
Yeah. It just totally cushioned that.
Gotcha. Yeah. You explain well. It was totally unrealistic, but I love stolen car chases. I've been playing a bit of Cyberpunk lately, and I steal a lot of cars. So that was cool. I enjoyed that scene. It was completely unrealistic that they were evading a squadron of TIE fighters when TIE fighters are known for extreme maneuverability.
Yeah.
There's no way that those TIE fighters couldn't have shot that thing. And why didn't they just speed ahead of it and just kill it?
Well, there'd be no drama in that. That's why they didn't do that.
They're way faster than a truck.
Yeah, but they're chasing the truck. Sometimes when you get caught up in the moment and you don't think tactically, you just think instinctually. And when you're chasing, it doesn't always occur to you to go and cut them off.
Let's go up out of this canyon.
Yeah.
And let's just drop bombs from up above. And then when they get out of the canyon, they're sitting ducks. No cover.
It was just an excuse to have a trench run moment.
Yeah.
This was the most like Star Wars referencey episode of the whole season. They're constantly like doing quotes from the older Star Wars movies. And honestly, like this, no disrespect to Carl Weathers, because I think he directed it well. This is my kind of the weakest episode for me out of the whole season. Yeah, because I think, I had this feeling watching it that this is why people, like snobby people, think this sort of geek media is dumb. Because it's just references and moments, and
it's retreads and rehashes, kind of like episode 7.
And so it's like, I'd feel like it was a bad showing.
Okay. Well, I mean, really, the first few episodes of this season were a little bit tropey, but that's okay. I think this part of the formula intentionally of this show is camp. There's just a healthy dose of camp, and it's not shied away from. It's leaned into.
Yeah, and I have to say, when I did my rewatch, in preparation of this episode, I liked it more. But just as I was watching them as they come out, this one kind of lost me a little bit.
Yeah, I think there were some moments that were really fun, like after they kind of get away and Mando gets back to the Razor Crest and he flies and he goes and he
shoots the TIE fighters for him.
Beats some TIE fighters in a dogfight, and that's pretty fun. And I mean, having the child throw up blue cookies on his little jumper was very realistic.
Yeah, that's what babies do. And the X-Wing pilots show back up at the end. They want to know, what was the deal was, why was the Razor Crest here? And and they're kind of pressing Karf Griga and Cara Dune, and Carl Weathers is not giving him anything. He's an old gangster, and he knows how not to talk.
Yeah.
But they kind of guilt Cara Dune a little bit. They're like,
you're one of us.
You're one of us. You served with the rebellion. We need people, we need you to get on board.
Yeah, and she buckles. She's a joiner, and I mean,
but she literally says she's not a joiner.
I know, but she is a joiner.
She has a rebellion tattoo on her face.
Yeah, there's no way to get around that. So I guess that kind of ends the episode. There was a little bit of information in there where we learned that information was all from Moff Gideon, and there's kind of a report back to Moff Gideon, a cut to him before the end of the episode where he's finding out that there was, some stuff happened at the facility.
And they got a tracker planted on the Razor Crest.
Yes, and that the mechanics or whatever, somebody there managed to get a tracker on the Razor Crest. And that's pretty important because it seems uncanny how easy it is to find Mando after that. But I just love Moff Gideon. He's like if Darth Vader, instead of being a big intimidating death machine, was instead like a mustache twirling evil villain.
Yeah,
it's just really fun.
Giancarlo Esposito, he has that pencil mustache that just adds that level of villainy, and he is cosplaying Vader a little bit. He's wearing like black plastoid armor
with cape,
everything. Yeah, and normally the other Moffs don't seem that glam as he is, but he's really showing off.
Yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin was a top dog, and he just wore a uniform.
He didn't wear a cape. He didn't carry a lightsaber.
But this is after the kind of the fall of the Empire, and so I think he's a little bit freestyle.
Yeah, well, all of the sort of Imperial officers, like anyone that was in control of a ship after the fall of the Empire, they all just became instant warlords, basically.
Yeah. They call themselves Imperial, and they have all their dudes, but really they are they're just independent powers.
Yeah, and it's like, and they don't even necessarily all coordinate well with each other because there's a little bit of internal power struggle between the different Imperials.
Yeah. So basically we get to chapter 13 entitled The Jedi. And the summary is the Mandalorian travels to a world ruled by a ruthless magistrate who has made a powerful enemy. This episode is one of the best episodes of the season. And it's called The Jedi, so it's going to be awesome. And we've been told in the previous episodes that that Mando is going and he's looking for Ahsoka Tano. And then the opening scene on this episode is just so awesome. It's so grim. It's got Ahsoka and she's just working these soldiers.
Oh yeah, it's so good. This one's directed by Dave Filoni, who's one of the executive producers, and he was the showrunner on Clone Wars and Rebels. And he's not the creator of Ahsoka Tano, but he's basically her daddy. Like, he's the guy that has shepherded her through 2 TV series.
Yeah.
So no one knows the character better. And he's also showing off his Kurosawa love in this episode too, because it looks like Yojimbo. It looks like those classic Kurosawa films.
I tend to like the stuff that Filoni has a heavier hand with. Mm-hmm. It seems like his style, the aesthetic that he likes, is something that I also like.
He's a hell of a director, and like I talked about this before, that I recently binged through Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay, and
he directed most of season 1. And there's like, anytime there'd be a really good episode, like that was really moving, and I'd be like, this was serious. Like, this wasn't kid stuff.
Yeah.
Directed by Dave Filoni. That always came by at the end and be like, damn, this guy is like, his eye, like how he frames up shots and everything is so good. His taste is like perfect.
Yeah. So this opening scene, it's just got so much gravity to it, and you really are able to see how powerful a Jedi is. And these troopers, they remind me of Sardaukar from the David Lynch Dune.
Yeah.
They have similar get-ups on their
black gas masks.
Yeah, and they've got these rifles and stuff. They're nothing like the Sardaukar in the book, but everything like they are in the movie. And so I just loved watching her just wreck house. It was awesome. Yeah,
and so we get to see Michael Biehn playing Lang, who's sort of like this mercenary guy, and Diana Lee Inosanto playing Morgan Elspeth, who's it's kind of the warlord over this town.
She's the ruthless magistrate from the description.
Yeah, and did you know she's Bruce Lee's goddaughter?
Yeah, she's.
Her dad was one of his original students.
Yeah, and she's like a longtime martial arts practitioner. She's pretty well respected.
Yeah. So she's probably going to do some combat in this episode.
Yeah, you can kind of tell there's going to be some fighting here. There's this badass warrior lady. You can tell
we have 2 warrior
and there's
ladies.
Like a gunslinger dude, and we know what the show is called, right?
Right.
So we've got a couple of face-offs coming, and
for sure.
I'm in for it.
Yeah. So they have their little standoff, and she gets an ultimatum from them, and she retreats back into the woods. It's kind of like they co-ultimatum each other. Like they're like, turn yourself in or we kill everyone in the village by this time. And she's like, surrender or I come back and kill all of you by this time.
It reminds me of Cersei on the walls of King's Landing.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like that. And
I can see that.
As much as everyone has like written off Game of Thrones because of that last season, there were some actually really cool moments.
Oh, definitely.
And so basically Ahsoka runs off into the woods, and then cut to Din Djarin landing the Razor Crest on this crap hole of a planet and just walking right up to the gate.
Yeah.
And basically he's just this heavily armed mercenary, and they're like, hold on a second, and they go and get Lang.
Yeah. And it strikes me, Lang's wearing armor like sort of like Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of like is a little bit of a fanboy there. He's like, oh, you're a hunter with the guild?
Yeah, like he kind of wishes he was, but really he's a bodyguard.
Yeah.
He kind of sees himself as like, we're in the same field.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a little professional respect thing going on.
We're both mercs, okay. And so he's like, you're with the guild? He's like, last I checked. Or he says something non-committal.
Yeah.
And then they let him in because they figure, hey, this guy is a hireable mercenary, and our boss lady is going to want to hire a Mandalorian. They are historically excellent for killing Jedi.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of one of the only groups that has any proficiency at it.
Yeah. And so, only a Jedi can kill a Jedi, right? Like, I mean, they're best at it.
Yeah.
So he goes in and he's walking through this town, and it's almost a caricature of how bad this place is. Like the people are so downtrodden, and they're just like, ooh, even the droid walks stooped over and half broken.
It reminded me specifically of some of the scenes in the movie Yojimbo. And it would be Toshiro Mifune walking through the town, and the villagers are all oppressed by the gangsters that have taken over the town. It's very evocative of that. And there's even villagers that are like, they're strung up in like these electroshock things. So it's cartoonishly cruel.
Yeah, it's like in Ghost of Tsushima when you go into the initial villages and you see the Mongols killing your people.
You started playing, yeah.
I did.
That shit's grim.
It is dark. And so then Mando's trying to talk to people, and they're like, no.
Don't talk to us. Yeah.
And they're trying to leave. And then a couple of those troopers, the guys in the gas masks, come and are like, I don't remember exactly what to say. Like, Morgan will speak with you, or Lady Elspeth, or something.
The magistrate wants to speak with you.
And they take him in, and he's like, okay. And she basically, her sanctum is like, it's a Japanese tranquility garden. It's
she's
beautiful.
got a koi pond with like a nice gangway over it, and she's got a nice house. The whole village is in squalor, but she's living it up.
Yeah, her place is sweet. And she talks to him and says basically, I need you to kill a Jedi. He's like, I don't come cheap. And she shows him a Beskar spear.
Yeah. We'll discover it.
And he's like, where's she at? And it's great because he doesn't agree to take the contract because he needs to meet up with her to give her the child.
Yeah. He goes, where is the Jedi? Like, he's an honorable man, and he doesn't take breaking his word lightly. So he doesn't give his word.
Doesn't give it. Yeah. And so he ends up going, getting the information, and he goes out to where she's at, and she jumps his ass.
Oh, I love this scene because Ahsoka goes ham on him, like she's out to kill.
And he's just like blocking it with his forearms and trying not to die.
Yeah, basically. And it's it does seem like she outmatches him easily.
Yeah, he doesn't even really get his gun out, and she's just beating his ass. It was only a matter of time before she killed him, and then he finally stops her, and he says her name, and then says, Bo-Katan sent me, and so she stops.
Yeah, and he says, I need to talk to you, and she goes, well, I hope it's about him, and she sees the baby.
Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting scene because then Ahsoka vibes with the child and tells Din that this is Grogu.
Yeah.
We learn his name.
I love all this stuff. Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka here. She's great. And I love the way her demeanor changes from ruthless killer to like babysitter.
Yeah.
Just like, and she's just smiling at the baby, and he's kind of cooing, and they're making all this eye contact with each other. And every time they say his name, they say Grogu, he always kind of goes, and like looks at them, and it's pretty freaking cute.
I mean, it's really great puppetry. Mm-hmm. I like these physical effects. I'm really a fan of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's something from the original Star Wars trilogy. The puppets are more real than the CG creatures are a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, I totally prefer physical effects. Mm-hmm. And so basically she's like, I can't train this kid. He's nah.
Yeah, like she reads. They do some like just some real basic force, like pass the rock around thing. Yeah. And he really will only do it for Mando, and he will only do it with the little shifter knob. Yeah. And he's very attached to the Mandalorian, and that attachment scares Ahsoka. She doesn't want to...
But she's seen what it does to a Jedi.
Yeah.
The best of us.
To the best of us. Because,
Was Anakin ever the best of them?
In the Clone Wars, Anakin is pretty freaking badass.
I always would think that Obi-Wan is better than Anakin.
Well, I mean, when he has the high ground, he seems to be able to take care of him. But... ultimately, I guess Anakin did kill Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he did get the better of him down the road when he was ancient.
Yeah, just gotta wait.
Yeah, well, you gotta get that harsh Tatooine sun, age the old guy. You spend all your time in hyperspace, you know. Anyway, so yeah, Mando is like, no, you have to take him. You're a Jedi.
I can't train him. And so she sort of acquiesces slightly. Oh no, she if he agrees to help her, she'll make sure that he gets trained.
Yes, she never says she'll do it, but she says she'll see that it's done or something along that line. Those aren't her exact words, but she's shifty just like Mando is. And so basically, once again, someone tells Mando, in order to get me to help you, you have to do a task for me. This is like a video game where you have to do quests in order to get the stuff.
Oh, totally.
And so this is another quest. He's got to help with the magistrate. And turns out it's a badass assault scene where they go after this, go into the city. And really, like, Ahsoka goes in solo, and she's just destroying everything.
Yeah, really epic. So she jumps up on the wall, cuts that big bell in half.
Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah,
because when it, like the sound it made when it hit the ground, it was pretty
very
cool.
good, very good audio effects. And they go in and clean up the town. She has her showdown with the magistrate, and Mando has his showdown with Lang.
And of course, the magistrate does a great job. She actually disarms one of Ahsoka's lightsabers, but ultimately loses the fight. And one of the best parts about that fight was she says, "Tell me where your master is," and we learn who the master is. It's Thrawn.
And that makes total sense, because what this lady is known for doing is running these mining operations that supply the Imperial fleet. And, in the lore, that's what Thrawn is out there doing, is trying to rebuild the fleet.
And Ahsoka hates him.
Yes, Ahsoka's got beef with Thrawn from Rebels.
And so that's what her show is going to be about.
We must assume Ahsoka is after Thrawn.
Yeah, because Ahsoka gets her own show, we learn. And basically... they have a really cool cowboy standoff between Lang and Mando. While that's happening, they're simultaneously, basically. And then, and of course, Mando beats him in a straight up draw
down. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I always love those cowboy movies and stuff. And
that's why it's a sushi western. We have the samurai and the western tropes both happening.
Once,
yeah.
And so he ends up getting the spear. He says, "Oh, I don't deserve that," or whatever.
Or he said, I didn't complete the contract.
I didn't earn it, or whatever. And she's like, "Yeah, but the Beskar was all taken from you guys, right?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take it. It is Beskar. It is ours." And so, makes me wonder, would he ever melt that to make more armor pieces?
I don't think so. Not after how the rest of the season goes.
He kind of needs it, right?
Yeah.
Like, So he gets it, and they free the town, and everyone's happy, and it's like, yay. And then she's like, okay, take the baby to this old temple and set him there, and he will do the work. He will call out for a Jedi.
Yeah. Mando says he's going to go back to the ship and get the child for her, and she follows, and she's like, I can't train him. And he's like, you promised.
Yeah, he's like, what?
Yeah. But he also does not want to give up the baby. They have like a whole, he's trying to kind of work up the will to part with the child, which is why she doesn't want to train him. But like you said, she says, go to the planet Tython and put him on the Seeing Stone. And that's the end of chapter 13.
Yeah, it's kind of a somber ending. And they leave. And chapter 14 is called The Tragedy. The Mandalorian and child travel to an ancient site.
Yeah, and this one's directed by Robert Rodriguez, director of Desperado and El Mariachi.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Rodriguez.
Oh, for sure.
His movies are good. And so they go to this this planet, and really this planet is not like one of the extremes. It's actually kind of like a moderate place. It's not bad. And they find these standing stones that are like a hinge.
Yeah, so Tython was the site of the original Jedi Temple, I believe.
And it's ancient. It's rubble.
Yeah, well, I get the impression like the hinge
predates
the Jedi Temple. Like the hinge is like from the earlier, whatever the druids that predate the Jedis are.
Jedi druids.
Force druids.
Just like Force Witches of Dathomir. They're the goodly versions.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so basically they go there and he sits Grogu on top of the stone and he's like, all right, do you think, kid?
Yeah. I love he turns on his infrared and he's like, well, there's probably an on switch somewhere. Like, and he's trying to analyze the magic rocks and it's like, no, I don't see anything. But, Grogu like hooks to the Jedi Wi-Fi and, gets a big force field around him.
Well, before that happens, but basically they fail and he's like, what? And then they see a ship flying through the sky, and that's when Grogu turns it on. Right when Mando's like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
He turns it on, and he can't grab the kid.
Yeah, he can't get through to him.
And that ship was Slave One.
I know. I said that out loud. When I saw it, I was like, oh, shit, that's Slave One. Like, it was sort of like when Boba Fett showed up at the end of the first episode. I went, oh, shit, that's Boba Fett. Like, it just comes out involuntarily.
Yeah, when I saw Slave One go across the sky, I was like, oh, it's Boba Fett. That's a ship. And I was just like, I was really excited that we were going to get Boba Fett in this episode.
Yeah, so Mando can't get the kid, so he runs down the hill, and he's going to try and intercept whoever's coming for him, and he gets himself in a standoff with the man, with Boba Fett.
Yeah, Boba Fett, no armor, and he's got a standoff, and basically you can tell Din Djarin's doing the math. He's like, I'm wearing Beskar, he's not. I win this drawdown even if he's faster than me. And that's when Boba is like, yeah, I've got a sniper. And he's like, okay, I'll still kill you. And they go, and he's like, oh no, the sniper's trained on the kid. And then Mando's out. He's basically like, okay, I give up.
Boba Fett quotes Jango Fett, or paraphrases him, because he asks who he is, and he says, I'm just a simple man making my way in the galaxy. and that's the same way Jango Fett introduced himself to Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it's just a little Star Wars symmetry callback there.
I mean, Star Wars is always doing callbacks.
Oh, constantly. And Boba tells it, he's like, I just want my armor. And Mando's like, no, you're not a Mandalorian. I'm not giving you the armor. But it gets sidelined because the Imperials show up.
Yeah, and it's a ship shows up, and a bunch of stormtroopers come down. And now, just like in the previous episode where we got to see Ahsoka at full power, just wrecking, in this we get to see Boba Fett and Fennec Shand both just annihilating people.
Yeah, Fennec Shand, that's Ming-Na Wen. She was Melinda May, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the OG Mulan.
Yeah, she's been everywhere.
Chun-Li, Street Fighter. She's a badass. Like, I love watching, a lady in her 50s just kill people. It's pretty impressive to me. But the big standout is Boba Fett. He shows up he's got a Tusken Raider gaffy stick, and he just starts crushing stormtroopers with it.
Yeah, because he uses this kind of jank-ass single-shot rifle, so it's not really that useful. But he's just destroying people with that gaffy stick, which is kind of like a vibro club or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just really epic. And at some point, you lose track of Boba Fett, and it starts following the thread of Fennec Shand, and then Mando, who himself is going to get the kid, because the kid is, he's in danger now. And then, Boba Fett comes out with the armor. He went to the Razor Crest and plundered it.
Yeah. And he comes out and just continues wrecking house, but now with all of his weapons. Too.
Yeah, with all of his stuff. And it's just so cool.
And Tamora Morrison is like a renowned haka dancer, and he's incorporating those his Maori martial arts moves into all of this combat, and it's just really impressive to watch him move.
Yeah, it was really nice to see how well it was choreographed, because it seemed like they were showing a person who was a true veteran in that armor.
Yeah,
using it. That was really nice.
Yeah, stuff that when Cobb Vanth was using it, he didn't seem to know that there was like rockets in the knees and like some of the stuff that Boba Fett uses.
Yeah, and it's just really cool. And then all of a sudden, a giant laser beam from the sky just annihilates the Razor Crest to bits.
Yeah, vaporizes it.
And it's just nothing. It's a crater. And, basically they're just like, fuck. What could possibly be worse? Okay, there's a bunch of death troopers coming down out of the sky from the ship that shot that.
Yeah, these goth Terminators come flying down, and they're making a beeline for the baby. And Mando took his backpack off earlier. He can't fly, so he's got to try and hustle up the hill, while Boba and Finnick, handle the remaining Imperials.
Yeah, because we know Moff Gideon knows exactly where the Razor Crest is at all times.
Mm-hmm. So he did before he blew it up.
Yeah, so he got there, he blew it up, and then he sent the Death Troopers down to get the child. And I'm expecting some kind of crazy daring something, but no, they just get the child and they just fly away with him.
Yeah, like the baby finished sending his force message out into the galaxy, and passes out as he usually does after he exerts himself. And the Dark Troopers pick him up and they fly away. Boba Fett gives chase in Slave One for a little bit, but sees they're going to an Imperial light cruiser and hangs back.
He's like, no, I know what I saw. And so then basically they're like, we owe you a debt. We said that, we would keep the child safe, and so we're with you until we get the child back. Yeah,
Boba Fett shows the chain code on the armor and shows that his father was a Mandalorian foundling, and kind of basically proves his rights to the armor, and that passes muster for the Mandalorian. Not that he's in any position to argue with them anyway.
Yeah, because he's not an authority.
And they head back to Navarro.
And at this point, it's like we've got such a group brewing. I'm loving this with Boba Fett and Mando and Fennec Shand, and then you add Cara Dune to the mix, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So this episode, I kept thinking like, oh man, this episode is so dire that he lost the child, but this was like the formation. This was the Fellowship of the Rings.
Yeah. I can see that. It's the getting the party together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they go back to Navarro to talk to Cara Dune because they want to bust someone back out of jail that they put in jail.
And does that happen at the end of 14 or the beginning of
That's
15?
At the end of 14 that they ask her for help finding him.
Okay.
And then our postscript at the end of the episode is we see Grogu in the holding cell on the light cruiser, just wrecking stormtroopers,
just force choking him.
Yeah, he's using dark side powers, which
I'm loving it.
Actually, we saw him use because he choked Cara Dune one time in season 1, so we've seen him use dark side powers before. Which is why Ahsoka's afraid to train him.
Because he's got a lot of fear in him, and a lot of fear and a lot of anger. So I mean, he's got a lot of natural potential, but he's damaged goods.
Traumatized little kid.
Yeah. I mean, I guess damaged goods is a really the wrong term. He's experienced a lot of trauma, and he's going to need a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's going to take years to work that shit out for him. But fortunately, he's 50 and still a toddler. He's got a while.
It'll take, he's got time for therapy.
And so episode 15 happens. It's called The Believer. To move against the Empire, the Mandalorian needs the help of an old enemy. And we learned in the last episode that they're going to get Cara Dune to break out Mayfield. Yeah,
so Mayfield's played by Bill Burr. We met him in an episode in season 1. That episode was also directed by Rick Famuyiwa, who's back writing and directing this episode also. And they're not breaking him out of jail so much as doing a prisoner transfer.
Yeah, they're just taking custody of him. Mm-hmm. And I love this character. He's a former Imperial who is now just kind of like a shady black market merc guy.
Mm-hmm. He's a sharpshooter, and he's just a criminal
now. Yeah, and so basically he's the ship lands, and Cara Dune takes custody of him from the droid, and they're walking, and then a Mandalorian, Boba Fett, walks out of the ship, and he's like, "Whoa! I thought you were another guy." And then Din Djarin walks out, and he's like, "Oh." Because they did not part on good terms.
No, he left him in a cell on a New Republic prison satellite thing, prison station. And it's worth noting Boba Fett has cleaned and painted his armor for the first time ever.
It looks so good in that fresh green.
Yeah, it's really good. And he's changed the gold hash marks that he had on the side of the helmet. He's changed them to red, which that's got a significance in Mandalorian culture. It's a reference to Jango Fett, to his father.
Okay.
So it's just a cool little detail.
Cool. So now whenever you see a Boba Fett cosplayer, you have to see if it's red or a gold.
Or gold, yeah.
Is it new school or old?
The gold marks him for being out for revenge. Okay. And the red is for honoring a parent.
Interesting, because I guess he's chilled in his old age.
Yeah, he's a much older Boba Fett.
Yeah. So he's basically Boba Fett and Mando and Cara Dune and Fennec. They're just like, yeah, we need you to help us get the codes or the location of where Moff Gideon's at. Yeah. And he's like, I need to get to an Imperial terminal, and I know where one's at. And they trust him.
Sort of. They don't really trust him, but they don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, they don't know where one is at. And so he's like, let's go to Morak. Mm-hmm. And they do.
Yeah. And everyone is like, there's nothing on Morak. He's like, yeah, well, that you know about.
Yeah.
Because he apparently knows about the operation that's on
there's
Morak.
Like an explosives mining facility. Mm-hmm. And they hatched this cockamamie plan to hijack a truck that's transporting explosies in order to get in, and of course hijinks ensue. I love the whole who's gonna go with them, because Cara Dune can't go. She literally has a rebel tattoo on her face.
Yeah, and we find out that Imperials have a genetic database.
Yeah,
so if you're in the database, when they scan you, everyone basically is going to flag when they scan them, except for Mando.
Yeah, because he's a foundling, he's an orphan, he's in no databases.
Right.
And so he's like, I'll go. He scans the truck and he sees that the pilots wear full armor. And so they hatch the plan, grab the truck, and he changes into this plastoid brown armor.
Yeah, it's a shore trooper. I looked it up.
A shore trooper.
Because we weren't sure what kind of troopers these were.
And he hands a duffel bag filled with his Beskar armor. He hands it over to Cara Dune to take care of for him.
Yeah. And they're gonna basically do the plot of the 1953 movie Wages of Fear. And move a truck full of explosives through the jungle.
Yeah, and I like these mining trucks, these big transports. They're pretty cool. And this is where we hear they drive through this little town. It's just squalor, and Mayfield, he's a chatterbox. He talks all the time, and he basically says, "Yeah, look at these people. They don't care who's in charge. Republic, Empire, it doesn't matter. You're all just invaders here."
Yeah, invaders on their land. Which that's the name of the song that like in the score that's playing right there. And I guess I was wondering when to mention the score by Ludwig Göransson. He's back from season 1, and the score is excellent through the whole season.
Yeah, I love the music in this show. Like I always let the credits play out at the end of every episode, just listening to the music. I love the music, and I love looking at the concept art that they always play during the credits.
Oh yeah, that stuff's really cool.
I always watch all through and listen and watch, and it's cool. But anyway, they're going through, and they're getting attacked by local aliens, these blue guys on these kind of like hover chariot things.
Yeah, like skiffs or something. Yeah. And they're just trying to they've been ambushing and blowing up these transports.
Yeah, but this particular transport has a hand-to-hand combat master that's willing to hop up on top of the truck and literally fist fight all these guys.
Yeah. I love this scene because Mando has gotten very used to that full suit of Beskar armor.
He tries to block stuff with his forearms.
Yeah, he's blocking with his plastoid armor, and it just breaks.
This is no good. He's got this crap armor. But he ends up winning the fights. These guys are not professional mercenary bounty hunters. They're not Mandalorians.
Yeah, they're just freedom fighters, basically trying to oust this, occupying force. And then ultimately, like, there's more of them that he's going to be able to handle. But some TIE fighters get scrambled and come out there and save the day.
Yeah, and it's the first time you're cheering to see TIE fighters.
Yeah, and that's Mayfield says that. He's never thought you'd be happy to see TIE fighters, huh?
Yeah, and then they get saluted by all the troopers as they go in, and they get off the truck, and he's just instantly on the look. Where's the terminal?
Yeah, and they're getting kind of a hero's welcome because we find out they're the only truck in the caravan that's made it in. Every other one has blown up. So everyone's just celebrating them, and
they have way too much attention on them.
Yeah, it's not great for when you're trying to be sneaky. But it's good. It's a good moment for humanizing the stormtroopers, who we just treat like cannon fodder through the whole series.
That's true.
And a lot of these they're conscripted soldiers. They're not, loyalists to the Empire. They literally have no choice.
And yeah, I mean, they're nowhere near as good as clones.
Yeah, that's true. And so Mayfield says the terminal's probably going to be in the officer's mess, and heads over there to go log on. And wouldn't you know it, he sees his old commanding officer in there, and he doesn't want to go in.
He freezes up. He's got some serious baggage with this guy.
Yeah. So that's Valen Hess, played by Richard Brake.
And Richard Brake played the Night King in Game of Thrones, and he's just a great actor.
Yeah. Unrecognizable from Game of Thrones. I would not have picked that's the same guy.
And so basically Mando's like, I'll do it. And they're like, you're going to have to show your face. It's going to scan your face. And he's like, I'll do it. And so he goes in and he tries to do it without taking the helmet off. Mm-hmm. But ultimately he has to pull the helmet up in order to get his face scanned. And of course, that's when Valen Hess is like, hey, trooper.
Yeah.
Calls him over, and he does not speak Imperial.
Yeah, he asks him what's his designation.
And he's like, driver.
Yeah, transport co-pilot, sir. Like he's trying to fake it, and he's not saying the right thing because he doesn't know what his TK number is.
Yeah, and so Mayfield comes in and rescues him and fast talks, and they're like, oh yeah, his TK, blah blah blah. We call him Brown Eyes.
Yeah.
And which is kind of interesting because, of course, Mayfield had never seen Din Djarin's face or eyes. Mm-hmm. And so then Valen Hess is like, you got to sit down and I'll get you a drink and blah, blah, blah.
You boys are the only ones that made it back. Let me buy you a drink.
And they're like, ugh. and so they're sitting there, and I love the verbal affect that he puts on. He's got a bit of a drawl.
Yeah.
It's not heavy.
Yeah, he's got this southern drawl. It puts me in mind of like a Confederate officer.
It made me think of like you always hear those kind of good old boys, good old boy sheriff from a movie kind of a thing. Or like Walton Goggins, how he talks in a lot of his roles.
Yeah, it's a thing where it's polite but loaded with menace, and you don't want to be having the conversation.
Yeah, like kind of a Georgia accent almost. I don't know. Anyway, it's really good, and it really puts you off guard because he's smiling a lot, but it's also kind of a menacing smile.
Yeah.
Like the physical acting that happens in this scene is really excellent.
Yeah, just between
the body language.
Between these three guys sitting there, Pedro Pascal as Din Djarin, not saying really anything, just sitting there watching these two guys talk.
And he's looking like face straight ahead, like he's used to wearing a helmet.
He's not used to turning,
yeah,
like,
you
just
don't see
looking
his
with
eyes
his eyes
moving at all. His whole head turns.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. Like this scene is really powerful. I'm not going to try to sit here and go line for line, but it's one of those deals where basically they're asking like what to toast, and Mayfield is like, how about Operation Ember, which is an operation where Valen Hess sacrificed a huge amount of troops, of which Bill Burr was in that group, but managed to survive. And he's like, they're all Imperial heroes of the Empire.
Yeah. And you see the tension just builds and builds in this scene as Mayfield's anger is getting the better of him, and you can see it on Mando's face. He kind of sees where things are going, and you don't think Valen Hess does. He's so confident in his authority, and he doesn't think this trooper is going to get out of line with him, even if he's feeling some type of way about some stuff that happened. He just needs to suck it up because he's just a trooper. But eventually, Mayfield can't hang anymore.
And just draws down on him, shoots him right in the chest.
Oh, it's so good. I love that scene. And then I love there's another trooper in there with his lunch tray.
Yeah, he's like,
like, what am I in the middle of? And Mayfield shoots him too. And then we're in a shoot our way out of here moment.
Yeah, and I thought they were going to have to go out the way they came in, but actually there's these slats on the side of the wall, and they're going out on a ledge, and they're like shooting guys that are coming out after him, but then it cuts over to Cara Dune and Fennec Shand.
Yeah, and they're kind of like, I was going to say broing out, but that's not the right word. It's two ladies.
Yeah,
they're sistering out about sniper rifles and stuff. Like they're like,
I would just say they're nerding out.
Yeah,
about their favorite thing, which is fighting.
Yeah, which is shooting people from a hidden position.
Yeah, it's like one is Speedy Thug and the other is Muscle Thug.
Yeah,
but they come together with their love of ass kicking.
It's pretty, yeah. And so basically they're doing the cover fire while our two guys make their way to the roof so Boba Fett can pick them up in Slave One.
And he comes and he picks them up on the roof, and he flies them away. And from the open ramp, Mayfield's like, hand me that rifle, and he shoots and he hits the generator or whatever. And
it was the cargo, it's the explosive
cargo. Yeah. And he causes that place to just go up.
And Cara Dune makes a little mental note of that. She sees that shot. She's like, huh, okay, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, moving spaceship. Yeah, okay, that's a hard shot to make. And so it was a really good scene, like this whole episode was great. I mean, the end where they're like, yeah, it's a shame that the prisoner died in transport.
Yeah.
And
he's like, are you telling me I can go? Because I will.
I love that. Because I will. It's really great. And then he just kind of like walking away, looking over his shoulder, like, is this a trick? Is this a trap?
Are they going to shoot me in the back as I walk away?
Is this some bullshit? Like, he's ready for shenanigans.
But basically, Mayfield proved himself to them to the point that they're willing to just let him walk.
He hates Imperials. Mm-hmm. Like, not only did he shoot Valen Hess right in the chest, but he turned and took a sniper rifle and blew up the base when he didn't have to.
Yeah, he ruined their operation.
Yeah,
because they had said all this material that they had there was going to really turn the tide for the Empire that's reasserting itself. And
so if he had any Imperial sympathies, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But clearly he's a hater because he was burned by the Empire. He was a sacrificial lamb and he resented it.
Yeah.
And so I just love this episode. I feel like Bill Burr is just super underrated as an actor. His dialogue and his natural charisma, he's able to vibe with literally anyone he's on camera with. He's just awesome.
Yeah, I just saw King of Staten Island is up on HBO Max now, so I'm definitely going to watch it. I've been wanting to watch that movie for a while, and I'll definitely watch that soon, I think.
I saw Cara Dune. Gina Carano actually tweeted about that episode and said that someone said like Bill Burr is a super funny dude because he's known as a comedian.
Yeah,
but she said, and he's also a hell of an actor.
Yeah, he definitely is.
So I think he's kind of coming into his own, with more acting gigs. And I listen to his podcast sometimes. I'm not like a religious follower. But he's a really funny guy and he's pretty down to earth. He's like a family man. And, he's got like a really funny relationship because he's like this, East Coast ginger dude.
Yeah, he's a masshole.
And his wife is like a really strong personality black lady. And they have just kind of this great dialogue. It's cool.
Yeah, they're an interesting match. I was going to say earlier that there's apparently a Commonwealth of Massachusetts in a galaxy far, far away because the accent is very heavy.
Yeah, they clearly didn't ask him to not do it because he can. Yeah. But I think they just wanted him as natural as possible for Mayfield. Anyway, so we moved to the last episode.
Before we... now they have the coordinates for...
Are we going to talk about the hut?
No.
The Orcs hut?
They have the coordinates for Moff Gideon, and Mandalorian sends him a message.
Oh, yeah. We have the outro with the message from Din Djarin to Moff Gideon.
And he quotes Moff Gideon back to himself about how you may think you know what you have, but it means more to me than you can ever imagine. And you can see Moff Gideon's a little shook.
He's like, how did he get this? How did this get here? And he said some shit. Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be on because Moff Gideon is a serious dude. And I think he probably had previously underestimated Mando.
Oh, for sure. Just a bounty hunter.
And now he's like, oh, this person might actually be a foe.
Mm-hmm. And so, yes, that brings us to Chapter 16, The Rescue. This one's directed by Peyton Reed again.
Okay, and the descriptor is the Mandalorian and his allies attempt a daring rescue, that's so overly simplistic.
It is, but this is a pretty simple episode. That actually almost covers it.
Okay, so we're done.
Pretty close.
What'd you think? So yeah, basically he gets the party back together. He's got his owls with him.
Yeah, he meets up with the night owls at the bar. The Night Owls and Boba Fett have to have a dick measuring contest. Beef. Yeah, because he's not a real Mandalorian.
But this is pretty sweet. A team of 5 Mandalorians, right? Mm-hmm. Or there's only 2 of them, right? The guy isn't there.
The guy's MIA. I don't know what happened to him, but we just get the 2 ladies.
We got 4 Mandalorians here.
We got Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves, who's played by WWE wrestler Sasha Banks.
Yeah, and I think she does a great job, especially with all that physical stuff. She's very good at it.
Yeah, I mean wrestlers are a natural transition into this. They're already doing drama.
Yeah, it's physical theatrics.
They have to just learn how to dial back their drama a little bit because they do it for a very different stage. It's like when like Shakespearean actors go into movies.
Oh, that's true.
They do this sort of overacting because they're doing.
Wherefore art thou, brother?
Yeah, totally. But I think she does a better job than a lot of wrestlers do about bringing it down to a more naturalistic.
Yeah, well, that character is pretty much kind of like a glaring and brooding. She doesn't say a ton, so she does that stuff well. And I like this group. They hatch the plan that they're going to take this Imperial shuttle and they're going to have Slave One chase them and harry them.
Yeah.
And they're gonna send out a distress call and they're just going to fly it right onto the light cruiser.
I suppose we should mention Bo-Katan should be about 10 years older than Boba Fett at least. Mm-hmm. And she's 20 years younger.
Well, yeah, Katie Sackhoff is the same age as me, which is 41. And
Tamora Morrison's in his 60s, I think.
Yeah, I think he's in his early 60s. And anyway, yeah, they should be like the same age, or maybe Bo-Katan a little older, right?
Yeah.
And so,
because, he was like 9 years old in the Clone Wars era or whatever. So.
And Nick told me about his theory of hyperdrive.
Well, of hyperspace. When you're doing faster than light travel, time passes differently for you than it does on world.
You're kind of like you're in stasis.
Right.
So if you spend like, 9 months out of every year in hyperspace, you're aging slower than people on world are. And on top of that, Boba Fett's been on Tatooine with 2 sons. So he's getting the double UV rays. Oh, man. Well, we know from Obi-Wan Kenobi that Tatooine will age you faster than anywhere else in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Because Sir Alec McGinnis, he is an old dude.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. Is this just your theory or is this confirmed?
This is just my theory. Okay, this is my personal theory.
So
because I was like, this is screwy.
That.
And then I was like, but there's a reason why it could work.
It doesn't not make sense, but I mean, they'll never try to explain stuff because they're Star Wars. They'll just be like, whatever, this is Bo-Katan and this is who she is and whatever.
It's always Katie Sackhoff. She always plays her, so she still plays her.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I'm a big Katie Sackhoff fan. I loved Battlestar Galactica, seen every episode of BSG, and I think she does a phenomenal job here, and I really liked that she got into science fiction from her father when she was a little girl, and so she's always been in the scene. And then when she was brought onto this show, she was able to bring her father on set, and I thought that was really sweet. She posted pictures of that on her Twitter, and
that's really cool.
Kind of a tribute to her dad. And he looked like he was like a kid in a candy store, like any of us would be on a Star Wars set.
Yeah, because you're just walking
He's on
around
the bridge of a ship.
It's sort of like when, in a little way, like when you go to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, and it's like, this is like Star Wars. Everywhere I look, I'm in Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. So they do that plan. I mean, it happens exactly like they plan it. They take the ship. Boba Fett is pretending to harass them, and they're like, "Let us on the ship," and they're like, "No, we're sending out TIE fighters."
Yeah,
and
wait for the TIE fighters to clear the whatever the what do you call that?
I don't know, the tunnel, the
tunnel of the ship,
the rectum. Yeah, and so they're like, nope, and they just fly right up the chute and crash into the hangar, and then right then, Boba Fett is like, boom, I'm out.
Yeah, I love that because he's got TIE fighters chasing him, and he's giving them a good chase, and he's avoiding like the deck guns and everything. And as soon as they're like, we're in, he shoots the 2 TIE fighters and jumps to hyperspace.
It's very clear that of all the pilots on this show, Boba Fett's the best.
Yes, he outclasses anyone we've seen.
Well, soon there will be a better one.
Well, they've done and I meant to mention earlier, they do a really good job of showing the Boba Fett that people had always imagined.
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, having a Boba Fett that lives up to the mystique that has always surrounded him.
The most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, if you see Slave One, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. So they show why he has that reputation, and we've never really seen that on screen. He's mostly just nodded at people and stuff. He hasn't done a lot.
I had very few Star Wars toys when I was a kid, but one of them that I did have was the Boba Fett toy, and I played with that so much. I love the missile in the backpack that would shoot out.
Yeah, which we've got to see a couple times this season.
It was just I'm a big Boba Fett fan, and basically after he flies off and they've boarded the ship, you see this just hell on wheels wrecking crew come out of that Imperial shuttle and just start destroying all of these stormtroopers and pilots and officers. And it just took me a moment to be like, wait a minute. Those are all women.
Yeah.
And they're all just demolition.
It is really nice because it's like it's a very organic girl power moment. Like, it's not forced. It doesn't even occur to you until you get, for me, it was like when they're out on that gangway and the two Mandalorians fly off the sides. And troopers come up behind them, and then they get like in a pincher move, like the Mandalorians come behind them, and it's like, wait, these are all ladies. I hadn't even noticed. They had been just 4 murderers previously, but they are female murderers.
Yeah, I really liked that scene. I thought it was pretty cool. I think that we need more of that, and that's why I'm glad that there's going to be some series, like Ahsoka and whatnot. It's going to have these women as protagonists. And so they kick ass, and then as they're literally just storming toward the deck because Bo-Katan is like, I get Moff Gideon. Then you see Din Djarin just sneak off the ship like a ninja. His job is to go and jettison the Dark Troopers and go to the brig and get Grogu.
Yeah. And he does pretty well on his own. He almost gets there to the Dark Troopers before they're activated, but
we have to have drama.
Yeah, but one of them makes it out of the hold, and he gets to fight a Terminator head on.
And that thing is tough. Like, his blaster shots go off of it. It lives through having flamethrower up in its electronics.
So I looked this up. Hell. So we've talked about Beskar.
Yeah.
And we've talked about plastoid armor.
Yeah.
Dark Troopers are made of freak.
Freak?
Phrik.
Are you sure it's not frick?
It could be frick.
Okay.
Maybe it's frick. Frick or freak. Correct us, divers, whichever one it is.
Tweet at us.
Yes. So we learn really right away, Frick is stronger than almost anything except for Beskar. It's like Beskar has got the lead on Frick by just a little bit.
And that the fight scene is pretty cool. I love it when he's punching him in the helmet.
It's very Terminator.
It's burying itself in the wall. It's pretty cool. Ultimately, Mando is able to be victorious by taking the Beskar steel and getting him like right in the neck.
Yeah, he goes up under the helmet basically, and we're very lucky that everyone always builds droids with a CPU in the head.
Yeah, not in the chest or
Yeah.
And so he wins, and he jettisons all the Dark Troopers out into space, and then he goes into the brig, and he sees, oh no, there's Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, and he's holding it right over Grogu.
Yeah, and Grogu does this really cute, like he holds up his hands in the handcuffs and does one of his little cooing sounds, like, oh, look, they put me in handcuffs.
Yeah, and so he has this really great exchange. Moff Gideon and Mando are basically like, hey, I need the kid, and ultimately Gideon's like, yeah, I got what I needed. I have a bunch of blood. All I wanted to do was study it. So if you agree to take the kid and just leave,
yeah,
we're done here. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, that can't be it. And of course that's not it.
Yeah, but Din Djarin, he's just, maybe it's just how he's
a dingus.
his honorable rearing, like he believes in making contracts.
Is this a space paladin?
He kind of is. He's the paladin of the way.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's actually, yeah, you're kind of onto something there. As long as you're observing the way, he's all good. So he thinks he has a contract with.
He's like, a bargain is struck. Verily.
Yeah. And he turns to walk out, and then Moff Gideon reignites the Darksaber and goes to
just wails on him.
Yeah, but that Beskar spear that he's got strapped on his back blocks it.
Yeah, it's like, well, too bad for you, sucker. And then it's on, and it's spear versus Darksaber. And what we've learned by watching this series is that Mando is good at all fighting. Mm-hmm. He's good at hand-to-hand fighting. He's good at shooting. He's good at piloting, and he's good at melee combat.
Yeah.
And he's better than Gideon. Gideon is hacking at him. He clearly knows how to fight. He's no Darth Vader.
Yeah. I always like things like this where their fighting styles reveal a lot about both of them. Whereas Moff Gideon is obviously someone who has been in a lot of fights, but maybe is a little light on formal training.
Yeah, he normally wins through just aggression.
Yeah, and he's slashing like crazy. It's real wild, big slashes. It's not
He's
controlled.
Never been trained with a lightsaber to understand the nuances of a really light weapon.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he swings it like it's like a baseball bat.
Yeah, because you don't need force with it. A flick of the wrist will do.
Mm-hmm. It will cut through almost anything,
and it doesn't cut through Beskar. And so ultimately,
but you do see the Beskar getting hot.
It does get hot. That's the only time we've seen it really react to anything. Mm-hmm. And so he ends up beating Moff Gideon in a fight, but he doesn't kill him. He spares him and takes the Darksaber.
Yeah, and away. Moff Gideon gives a very knowing smile here. He's like, "Oh, this will be interesting."
And so then he goes up to the deck where the Night Owls are, and Bo-Katan and Fennec Shand. I'm sorry, Cara Dune and Fennec Shand. They're there, and they're like, he's got the Darksaber lit, and he's kind of dragging Moff Gideon behind him, and she's like, "What did you do?"
Yeah, and Moff Gideon kind of stumbles in there, just like
he's half laughing.
Yeah, he's got this big shit-eating grin. And it's like basically lets us in that she needed to win the Darksaber from him for the story to work, for her to have really the mandate to go and claim Mandalore. She needed to win it back because he won it from her. And so now there's a complication because Mando is going to give it to her, but she can't just take it. She has to win it in battle. Yeah, which I do. This is another one where I have to kind of explain it because I remember Sabine Wren handing her the Darksaber originally. Yeah. And so it's like, well, she got it from just being handed it to her from someone else before. But I do get it. It's in order to have the prestige that she needs to do what she wants, she needs to have a good legend. Yeah, and she lost it in a fight, so she needs to win it back in a fight. Yeah, she can't just get it handed to her this time. Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy beat you, and so a friend of yours went and beat him up and took your sword back? Yeah, why isn't he the king? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, I get that. And so at this point, they're having their dialogue, and then we kind of have the Dark Trooper menace shows back up. Like, we're being boarded. Yeah, how many life forms? None. I swear that's twice as many Dark Troopers as they jettisoned. Yeah, for sure. It looks like so many more. I'm like, okay, yeah. So the Terminators show back up, and they just hole up on the bridge, and they're basically gonna do an Alamo-esque last stand. They're gonna die. Yeah. There's no way they win that fight. And so they're waiting, and the Terminators are, you got me saying Terminators, the Dark Troopers are trying to punch in the door, and they're denting it. They're going to get through. It's pretty clear. It's just a war of attrition. And so, and
then a single X-wing shows up in docks or in lands in the bay, and I'm like, a single X-wing?
Yeah.
What's that?
Cara Dune's like, oh great, we're saved, sarcastically. I think you're supposed to think it's the Rangers that we've been seeing.
Yeah, you're supposed to think it's Kim's convenience.
Yeah, and I did for like half a second, and then it's like when they kind of link. Oh, I think Grogu puts his hand on the monitor,
and then you're like, oh no, it's a Jedi.
Yeah, and there's really only one Jedi, that flies an X-wing,
and you see him in the cargo bay there, and he's got the black cloak on with the black outfit
and the black
one
glove.
And you're like,
it's Michael Jackson.
Oh shit. Is it really? Are they going to do this? Do they have the balls to bring back Luke fucking Skywalker? And they did.
They did,
that green lightsaber, I was just so fucking stoked.
I don't remember. It's our very first episode. You asked me what color lightsaber would you get? I said green. Like, I didn't even pause.
That's true. Yeah.
This is why the green lightsaber owns my heart, is from this version of Luke.
Yeah, the Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker.
The all black with the big belt buckle Luke Skywalker.
And he just wrecks these. And just like Boba Fett, we never got to see him at his full glory in the movies. We never got to see full glory Jedi Knight Luke.
Yeah.
And here we do. These unassailable dark troopers, he just treats like garbage. He's crushing them like Dixie cups with the Force, and just cuts through them like they're nothing. And he gets to the door, and they're like, and they're like, let him in.
Yeah, well, yeah. Mando's like, open it, and they're like, "Are you crazy?" Because they just watched Michael Myers just go through and slaughter everything that they were so afraid of. But Mando goes and opens the door, and deepfakes Luke walks in,
and it was really good. Like I thought it looked good. They intentionally didn't try to replicate Return of the Jedi Luke. They tried to merge it with the later episodes, the sequel episodes, Luke, modern Mark Hamill's face.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill was on set for it, and he did the voice. He did the vocals.
I think they must have probably pitch corrected his voice a little bit. Or he's a pretty serious voice actor, so he might have pitched his own voice.
Yeah, he is a really good voice actor. So, I mean, it was just amazing. That was Luke Skywalker. It was a body double for Mark Hamill, a young man. But it was awesome. I was moved by it. I felt real feelings in my blackened heart. I was like, my young Davy was awake for a second.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, I think the effect is comparable to when they did the similar effects in Rogue One with Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia,
specifically with Carrie Fisher. I mean, that was pretty gut wrenching.
And it's you can tell it's a CG thing, but you're willing to suspend. I mean, we've been emoting with a puppet all this time, so we can suspend our disbelief a little bit and just go with the magic of Star Wars.
And the scene between Luke and Din Djarin and Grogu, I mean, it was really moving. The moment, I mean, Pedro Pascal acting with a puppet makes you feel real feelings.
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't want to go with you, and Luke says he wants your permission, and they have a real moment, and Grogu, he through gesture and through just his puppet acting, he asks to see his face before he goes, and he takes the helmet off
in front of all of them, including the other Mandalorians.
And it's it's just a kind of a testament to the character journey that he's been on. This baby means more to him than the way does. Yeah,
it was a great scene, and I think. I can't imagine anyone listening to this who hasn't seen the episode. But if you haven't,
you're I think I might watch The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I think it's truly excellent acting. And I think Pedro Pascal is so good. And I mean, he's carrying Star Wars, the whole franchise.
And if this cake wasn't sumptuous enough, and it wasn't so well dressed and well executed, we get the R2D2 frosting on the cake right now.
Yeah, when R2 comes in, he's kind of shimmying back and forth at the beeping. I was just like, ooh, it's so great.
It's so Star Wars.
Yeah. It's like, why could none of the sequel movies be Star Wars, but this is Star Wars?
Yeah. Well, I'm a Last Jedi defender.
You're like a flat earther. Say things that are fake, but do it with conviction.
It's just like the Truman Show.
Yeah, that's the world.
Why don't they use Asgard? That's a real world that's flat. They always go Truman Show.
I don't know, but okay, so this scene happens and he leaves with Grogu, and Grogu's looking over Luke's shoulder, and he's got that lingering eye contact with Mando, and then the door closes and then it's over, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the music like dun 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 dun, and it's like I'm watching the art, and then a scene. I'm like, that's Tatooine.
Yeah, I did it out loud. I go, that's Jabba's palace. It was like anytime they drop something from Return of the Jedi, because that's like my main, like the movie with the most heartstrings attached to it.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Like that's Jabba's palace.
And I just love, like, you see someone like they've got a mask on, but you can tell it's Fennec Shan, right? Yeah, because Ming-Na Wen kind of has a style. Right?
She has a swag, yeah.
And so she comes in and she just taking people out. It's awesome.
She walks in to just this perfect recreation of Jabba's palace. Like it's exceptional. What a good job they did, and that's mostly a practical set. It's not like a digital creation. And we see up on Jabba's platform, Bib Fortuna, his old Twi'lek.
It's Bib Fat Tuna now.
Bib Fat Tuna. Yeah, he's grown into the throne. He's filled out quite a bit since the last time we saw him. And Boba Fett walks in, and Bib Fortuna is like, "Oh, Boba! Oh, I'm so glad to see you."
He's so full of shit. I thought you were dead.
Yeah, and Boba Fett, man of few words. He just blasts him.
He's a simple man.
He's a simple man trying to make his way in the galaxy.
And he just boom, like right in the chest, throws him off the throne and sits down.
Yeah. Fennec Shand unchained the Twi'lek dancing girl, which I guess that's a gross tradition that Bib Fortuna has continued since he's taken over.
Yeah, and they're having none of it.
Yes, the new Fett and Shand regime is not going to stand for this.
Yeah, and then it just puts up on the screen as after you see Shand drinking out of the bottle, the blue liquor.
Like she goes and gets a bottle of liquor and kind of sits on the arm of the throne, and Boba Fett makes himself at home.
And then you just see on the screen the book of Boba Fett, and I was just like,
yeah. So this show, it did a really good job of making me want things that I had. If you had asked me before, I said I didn't want. I would have said, leave Luke alone. Don't bring Luke in. Just leave it alone.
It's just fine where it was.
Luke shows up, and I'm like, oh, it's Luke. And, whenever they've talked about doing a Boba Fett movie or a Boba Fett show, I've always been like, leave Boba Fett alone.
You don't need just ruin it.
Yeah, and when you say The Book of Boba Fett, directed by Robert Rodriguez, I was like, oh, God, yes, I want it. Yeah. When is... can I be in a coma until December?
Yeah, I mean, really, like, if I mean, Rodriguez, Filoni, or Favreau, if any of their names had been the main guy, I would have been like, yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know about anybody else, but those three, I really like their style on this show.
For sure.
So, I mean, I love the show. I love this season. It was so good. What worked for you? What was your personal highlight? I guess that could be your favorite episode or your favorite moment.
Oh, it's tough because there's a string of episodes in the middle that I really love. But if I really just boil it down to like my highlight, my favorite moment, it is from The Believer. It's the stuff with Bill Burr and Mando and the Imperial officer. That three-way between them, the acting in it is so good, and it's those little like personal like character moments that really make you care about the show. Because the special effects, there's lots of great science fiction stuff you can watch. It's the character stuff that makes you care about the special effects.
Oh, I totally agree.
But I really like almost feel bad not picking the Ahsoka episode because that's probably my favorite looking episode. I think it's the most beautiful episode.
It's so good. There are 3 Amazeballs episodes, and it's the Believer, the Jedi, and the Rescue. Right? Is that what the last
that's
one
the
was
last
called?
one.
Yeah, those 3 episodes were all just holy shit. All 3 of them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like even just talking about them now, I still get some of like those chills again from those episodes.
Yeah. So I guess my personal highlight is I chose kind of an aspect of the show that really I loved, and I love all the side characters. I loved Boba Fett and Bo-Katan and Luke Skywalker, and I loved the Imperial officer. Just the side characters really make this show special. And I guess if I had to choose a favorite episode, it's really hard not to say The Believer or The Jedi, but I have to go with The Rescue, just because it made me. It brought me back. It made me a kid for a minute. I felt like a Star Wars fan who's fresh in their fandom.
A non-cynical Star Wars fan?
Yeah, I felt like a non-cynical Star Wars fan who's watching something and just loving it with a pure heart, with no but, and this is wrong and that's wrong. No, it was just right.
Yeah.
And the Rescue was that for me.
I can see, yeah. And that's totally like, as like fans of like this sort of nostalgic things like this, that's what you're chasing, is that feeling.
That's 100% what you're chasing. You want to feel like you used to feel. And so that's where I'm at. So what didn't work for you?
I've already said which episode didn't work for me, the Siege. But in general, I feel like they stretched the formulaic aspect of the beginning of the season to its limit with that episode, with as far as we're going to do you the favor, but you got to do us a favor, and then we get on to the next thing. The formula had worn so thin at that episode that it was breaking for me a little bit.
I noted that in my show notes as well.
Yeah.
So my low point for the show was, again, I went kind of with an aspect, and that was that I feel like it's they have the knob on campiness turned up a little too high sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel they really rely heavily on tropes, and sometimes that's a double-edged sword. Like sometimes the tropes make you feel good and nostalgic, and then other times you're like, this is unoriginal.
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe this there was a bit too much of that, but that was a stylistic decision. I don't believe that Jon Favreau would let nothing that happened in this show was accidental.
Yeah,
it was all intentional.
It's a very intentional show.
And so I think that's okay. I don't have to like it. He did that on purpose, so there it is.
And it's true to universe, right? Like that's something I just saw an old interview with George Lucas himself. He was talking about people that complain about the Star Wars dialogue being campy, that they don't understand it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that sort of hyper reality, like Buck Rogers serials, like the stuff from his childhood that he's referencing.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, people want it to be something that it's not intended to be. All right, so what are your final thoughts, and what is your rating of season 2?
I went on a little bit of a journey with it. I kind of almost like talked my own rating down and then talked it back up.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna rate it 4 stars. I think it, which is what I rated season 1 also, and I think it's comparable to season 1. I don't think it's better, but I definitely don't think it's less good than season 1 either. And the reason why I considered rating it lower is because of the tropiness. Like it can seem a little formulaic and a little bit like it's spending a lot of time setting up spin-off shows. But it does it so well. Like I don't, ultimately, even though I know when a character gets a amount of focus that you're like, oh, that's going to be another show, and you can see it, it still does it well enough that I don't mind. It doesn't feel like a commercial. It feels natural.
Yeah, you still like it. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I've gone back and forth on the ratings here too, and I actually have one thing written, and then I said another thing when we recorded the first time around, and now I'm going to go back to what I originally wrote.
Oh.
Having thought about it in the days since we recorded this before. And so I think season 1 is a solid 4.0. That was my original rating, and I'm going to stick with that.
Oh, because you did beef it up.
I think that it was I think it was worth it. A 3.5 is a solid recommend. A 4.0 is a highly recommend.
Definitely.
I consider season 2 to edge it out. I give it 4.25 stars.
Oh, okay.
And that is what I originally wrote here. And when we last spoke, I was really feeling the nostalgia, and I gave it a 4.5. But I think I'm going to settle on 4.25. It's super good.
Yeah.
I think anyone who likes science fiction would like this. I think anyone that likes any Star Wars, Star Wars is its own vibe of science fiction. Like I've been watching The Expanse on Amazon, which is a lot more of a hard science fiction. It's a lot more adult, and it's a lot more sciencey, I guess.
Yeah.
It's nothing like this. But even a fan of The Expanse could like Baby Yoda and Luke Skywalker, and if you can't, you don't have a soul, right? Okay, I'm going a little farther, but I really think that it's good. There were some flaws that prevented me from going to that 4.5 or even the elusive 5. Nick doesn't believe in 5s, but I do. I think that 5 means that I unequivocally, wholeheartedly recommend to any and all people, and would watch again.
Yeah.
It's not quite there. I don't think this is all people. I think it's most people.
Yeah, for sure.
People. I watched this again over Christmas with my father-in-law, and it's great. It's just a family show.
He liked it.
Oh, he loves it. It's a family show. It's a nerd show. It's it's just great. All right. So those were my final thoughts. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we will come back with our final segment.
Welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
Well, I'm into beer.
Yeah.
But I don't mean that just I'm into drinking lots of beer, because I still don't drink a ton. But I like to try different flavors, and I like to try different styles. And so I've decided to tackle this from a little bit more of an academic perspective.
Okay.
I've got a couple of books, and I've begun watching a series of seminars online, all with the end goal of eventually taking the level 1 test for the Cicerone certification program.
Ooh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Cicerone is kind of like a beer sommelier.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
And so basically the level 1 test is a licensed beer server is what it's called. But basically you know all about styles and serving and pairing and that kind of thing. It's mostly about identifying and recommending. And I feel like I've been a beer hobbyist / enthusiast for years, but academic stuff and tests are something that I'm really good at.
Yeah.
So I figured I might as well just do this, and it's something I can do during quarantine, during lockdown, before am always finding a million other things I could be doing. I'll watch these lectures until I'm done with the series of lectures. I'll read through the book, and then I will take the online exam, and I shouldn't have too much trouble passing it. The level 1 exam, I have to take professional certifications for my field, and there's no way that these are harder.
Oh, no, I don't think so. So do you have the BJCP app on your phone?
Oh, yeah. I definitely have. I have that. It's I've been looking through it. I'm not as I'm not as schooled as I thought I was. I thought I was pretty knowledgeable about beer in general, but it turns out there are a lot of things that I don't know and I need to learn. So I bought a book, like I said. It's simply called Tasting Beer, and then the subtitle is An Insider's Guide to the World's Greatest Drink, and it's by Randy Mosher.
Okay.
And it's kind of considered by most people in the field to be like, this is where you go.
This is the starting point.
Yeah, this is a comprehensive, well done book about beer, and it's done in a way that's easy to understand. It's got a good narrative, kind of, I guess, a good voice, not narrative. And it's in its second edition, so it's been revised and updated, and it's just it's something that this topic is something that I've always been into. I got my wife a membership to our local brewery pub club. We try to make a point of visiting places, and so I just want to do this.
I think that's really cool, and I think it's like a not necessarily becoming a Cicerone, but just taking things to this next level and understanding them academically. I think is important to like a craft beer hobbyist.
Yeah.
Because it's always a frustration that people that's like, well, I didn't like this, so it's bad. And it's like, well, but this is a really good example of a Rauch beer,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like, I do not like Rauch beers.
Yeah.
But if I taste one, I want to know, was this a good Rauch beer?
Yeah. Does it have the flavor profile that it should have? So I think that's really important. So yes, I commend you on this endeavor.
Yeah. And I think after I do it, I'll probably try to convince you to do it, maybe. Because it's not, if it's not hard, if it is hard, then maybe I don't want to try to enlist my friends in a lot of work.
Is it hard, and does it cost money?
It does cost money. But honestly, the first level exam is only $65.
That's not too bad.
That's nothing.
And then I could tell people I was a Cicerone.
Yeah, you could just be like, I'm a level 1 Cicerone. I know some shit. No, I mean, I wouldn't try to be like a dick like that. Because honestly, like our friends, Chris and Amber, they know way more about beer than I do.
Yeah.
I bet they could pass this test.
Probably. I think, yeah, I mean, probably a lot of people we know are borderline Cicerones.
Yeah, or if they bothered to study, they could pass the test. I'm probably starting at a lower bar than them as just an enthusiast because I don't brew.
Yeah.
And I think that's the level 1 is very specifically not including brewing elements. Once you get to the level 2, you need to start understanding like the brewing side of things.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah.
And then the level 3 and level 4 are just next level and extra, which I think maybe someday I'll try for level 2, but it's not really a thing that is super important to me.
Yeah, I know that we don't really have in-person certification for any of this stuff locally.
Yeah, you have to travel.
Yeah.
So my best guess would be after the travel ban, or not travel ban, as the quarantines and stuff are gone, if there's something like in the Austin, Texas area or whatever, or even LA because of family there, make it easy to go.
You think they don't have one in Seattle?
They might. I don't know.
I would think so, but I don't know. Anyways, well, that's pretty interesting. Have you studied? Do you have like the tasting kit for teaching yourself the off flavors and stuff?
No, I haven't got that yet. I'm still. I feel like I'm kind of because there's no tasting exam for the level 1. The level 2 has the first tasting exam.
Okay.
I'm really focusing because I do academic stuff. I am really focused on studying what's going to be on the test and learning that.
So it's just going to be probably asking like, what are the characteristics of this style?
Of this and that, and what is, like...
Very cool.
Should be stuff that can be learned academically. All right, well, that's what I'm doing. What are you into right now?
So over the holiday, I discovered this a manga series, an anime called Saint Youngman or Saint Onisan by a guy named Hikaru Nakamura. And the premise of this is Jesus Christ and Gautama Buddha taking a 1-year vacation from their celestial abode and living in suburban Tokyo as just sort of 2 gaijin tourists doing like a kind of walkabout thing.
So why'd they decide to be white tourists?
Well, they're not white.
Well, sure. Why did they decide to not be Japanese?
Well, because they're just the ethnicities.
They're
just the ethnicities that they are.
Of the people. So a Chinese guy and a Hebrew guy.
Buddha is Indian.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Wrong Buddha. It's an Indian guy and a Hebrew guy.
Yeah, and they're just living in suburban Tokyo, and it's just like a slice of life comedy. It's very wholesome. Like it's not. It's people. There's people would find this sacrilegious, like
of course
religious people would. But it is.
You think Buddhists would? I don't know.
I think it just depends on what sect you're in and your level of severity.
There's it's like the Children of the Watch. There's going to be hardcore versions of everything.
But the night owls would probably laugh at it. And it's really funny. It's really charming. Like it's sort of broken up into seasons, and the winter or sort of like Christmas episode of the movie where Buddha is trying to throw Jesus a surprise birthday party. I just thought that was just hilarious and very cute and silly, and I was utterly charmed by this series.
This does not sound like something I would dig.
I wouldn't think so, but I bet Carrie might like it.
Oh, she likes everything anime. No, she doesn't like all of them, but she likes a lot of them.
She likes a lot of anime, and she has probably the scope of knowledge about Jesus and Buddha to get the jokes. A little sticking point is that it's not available legitimately really anywhere in the US. The manga is, but not the anime.
Oh, man.
So I ended up streaming it on Vimeo, I think. Which, that's free. It was no big deal to watch it there, but it's not on Crunchyroll or any of the normal
That's
places.
Weird. Even Netflix has a pretty good selection of anime.
Yeah, it's kind of considered somewhat unreleasable in America because we're too puritanical for this sort of thing.
Okay, I mean, I can buy that.
You're like,
it's fairly true.
I do not like slice of life comedy with Jesus in it. But
American Gods was on in America. And
that was an HBO, yeah, and that had a really good Jesus. I love the Jesus crossing the Rio Grande. That was one of my favorite segments.
Yeah, weren't there multiple Jesuses in that?
In the Easter episode, there's a whole boatload of Jesus. Jesus. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I was just super charmed by this series. So that's what I'm into right now.
All right, great.
Guess it's time for the call to action.
All right. Well, I always ask you to subscribe to us. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher and rate us generously. And I also always ask you or tell you that a 5-star review costs you nothing but means everything to us. But it occurred to us after some conversations with friends, not every platform lets you rate us. And some of you might not really even know how to go about rating a podcast because who cares, right?
Yeah, you just listen to them, and even if there is a place to rate, you don't think to click on it. But if you listen to us on Apple, Stitcher, Podchaser, Castbox, or Podcast Addict, you can leave us that highly sought 5-star review, and we would very much appreciate it if you did.
Yeah, like if you've got iTunes installed on your PC or you have a iPad or something, just log into
your work phone.
Yeah, open your iTunes, look up Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, and give us a 5. It's no big deal regarding in for time, but that really helps us actually come up in people's searches and their recommends and that kind of thing. Lets us grow pretty organically.
Yeah, because basically right now you only find us if you want to. Like you have to really look for Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse.
Yeah. So where else are we online?
We are across the metaverse on all social media platforms as Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Twitter, which Dave prefers, and we're on Instagram, which I prefer, but we're also on Pinterest, which nobody likes.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.